Cool. All right.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome to the rant, everybody. This is the 20th episode. On every 10th episode, Zach and I are going to catch up as friends, check in on each other. We just do it live with you. We don't edit this, by the way. That way it's extra juicy for you chickens. And during our rant, you're going to get to know us a little better. We also discuss the last 9 episodes we covered. We just give you our unfiltered thoughts on those episodes and what we may agree or disagree with. So we hope you guys enjoy this. So, my friend, Zach, how's it going in that library of yours, bro? How are you?
So this is a real library,
Yeah,
100%. And I read all of those books.
I believe it.
So I'm the expert. That's why all these
Yeah.
are real.
Like right before you got on this Zoom, you read them all, right? Because you're.
Yeah, you ever heard of like speed reading?
Mm-hmm.
So you just like look at the picture and your brain can just look at the page and see all of it and just knows it. And you just turn it to the next page.
I wish I could speed read. How many people with libraries like that, like that? Because I've always wanted a badass library like that. How many people with libraries like that you think have read all the books in them? Like, what percentage you think have read all the books in their library?
Well, I was thinking about this because I do want to have a library like that, and I have like probably like 30 something books. I know you have one shelf that's more than that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like over your lifetime, I see it 100% that you can walk in someone's library and they've read it, but usually probably each book once or twice, but they bought it. So they just put it in there to kind of like refer back to, which I mean makes sense.
Yeah, but a lot of times those like the ones like in your video screen, those are a bunch of like encyclopedias. So like no one reads the encyclopedia,
I know
or they're
that,
like, or they're like a bunch of law books, and they're like, look at me, I'm fancy. Like it's a bunch of law books, and you're like, you haven't fucking
but
read
like
that.
100 years ago, you didn't have the internet. So you kind of had to have the latest encyclopedia in your library so that you could go look at it in any time. I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically your internet is encyclopedias,
but
right?
like so, but like when you get a study like that, a lot of times it comes with like a package of books, and that they're just like that looks nice, and they don't read that shit ever. They're just like,
I don't think nowadays, nah.
yeah,
I do think it's weird because I did catering at a home and it was super huge, nice. They had a library full of encyclopedias. They hadn't touched that stuff. You could tell
yeah,
forever. I
yeah.
mean, it was bad, but it's like I could see it with normal books. Like I would my library in the future, or that I'm building right now, it's not gonna have encyclopedias. We have the internet.
I don't know if other people have this issue, but I have this issue where I will buy books and then not read them.
I
Like,
think it's because you have it and you can look back at it anytime you want. So you're like, I started reading, even though you
yeah,
just own it.
I start reading a lot of books and then don't finish them, which is not the best. That's kind of the story of my life, though. Start a lot of shit, don't finish it. What up? Super successful.
I have some like that, or that were given to me that I haven't
Yeah,
just read yet.
yeah.
I
Well,
started rereading.
let's talk about where I'm at. I'm in a huge forest. The blades of grass are ginormous, and so I just figured that I would record out here in these ginormous blades of grass. They're taller than I am, so
Would it be really scary if you got a grasshopper that started like coming up behind you or something? That's what it looks like.
and
Yeah.
it was bigger than me.
Yeah,
Yeah, so pretty cool filter there.
I think that works.
What? What?
I said, yeah, I think that works. It you just add a video of a grasshopper. You can make a whole movie out of it. It'd be like one of
Yeah.
the what's that movie? Ah, shit, I don't even know, but it's like the giant insects. It's like super corny. I don't know.
Oh, wait, arachnophobia with spiders?
Have you seen the movie Eight-Legged Freaks?
I think I also have seen that.
Dude,
It's like the
it's
same. It's the
it's
same
actually pretty
concept
good. Yeah, yeah.
as
It's
arachnophobia.
I haven't seen Arachnophobia. I've seen Eight-Legged Freaks, giant
It might.
spiders.
Yeah. Oh well, then maybe I'm thinking of the same movie. Maybe in that movie they mention arachnophobia, but I'm pretty sure isn't arachnophobia its own movie? Well, guess what we have? Even though we know
Probably
Google's
is.
bad, and that's what we cover in our episodes. I'm actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm on DuckDuckGo now, and I officially changed that. When my computer recently, I guess the viewers can know this, it just wouldn't turn on. By the way, never watched porn on this computer once. I keep this a porn-free laptop. I haven't even searched tits. It's like, dude, it's all that's all from my phone. This
Right.
computer is
My
complete.
computer's clean too, and I'm having like some issues. I don't know what's going on. I have
Yeah.
Brave. I use Google. I got like my little notification thing going off. It's like, hey man. Someone's spying on you. Someone's watching me, even though I'm recording this for you guys. I'm spied on right now for sure.
So two things. I've officially 100% gone over to DuckDuckGo. I don't use Google for my searches, but the second thing is that yeah, my computer just broke. It was just like you have an error, and it wouldn't let me in. And then I took it to you break I fix, and they were like, yeah, it should be a quick fix, no biggie. And then they call me back. They're like, oh, actually, everything on your computer has to be erased. um like so they gave me the hard drive where I can go pay 50. They said it's like an average of like starts at like 500 up to like 1500 for them to forensically get all the information back from my hard drive.
What?
So it's all gone. Everything that I've ever saved on this computer just gone. I have the little, they wrapped it up. I have the little hard drive right here. This is the hard drive.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then they said that if you
I
want
know
to
it was
get it
that
back,
much.
yeah, dude. I was like, starts at 500. The fuck?
Yeah. I definitely got an external hard drive about 3 weeks ago. Just started putting stuff over there just in case because of what happened to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get an external hard drive. Okay, so Arachnophobia is a movie. It came out in 1990, and I don't
Way earlier
remember.
than Eight-Legged Freaks. Eight-Legged
Okay,
Freaks is newer. It's pretty good. I mean,
was it
but
with
I
giant
like the
spiders?
yeah, yeah. I love those
Well,
sci-fi movies, man. Like giant fucking
I
spiders.
think I saw. I think the one I'm referencing. Okay, I've seen both these. I think Arachnophobia was more like it was really trying to go like horror on you, and then Eight Legged Freaks was like kind of like fun, scary. Do you know what I'm
It
saying?
was.
Like
It
it was
had
like
jump scares, but it was funny too.
yeah, I remember that one too. So nice, nice. Um, all right. So what's out? What's new with you, brother?
Um, well, I mean, shit, since the last time we did this, we both moved.
And then moved
I
again.
moved into this mansion that has a library, so
Right.
I mean, I'm out here hidden. But I think that's what's new is more so important in terms of like, hey, what are you more excited about? And dude, what we've been doing on this podcast, and by the time people hear this, it's already getting, it'd be like way later down the road. But I think that's the newest thing that we've been kind of focused and working on. That's also exciting.
Oh yeah, our podcast started making money. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I
That's
started making money and we haven't, I mean, we didn't work. It's not like we were working really hard to try to get there. It just kind of happened. We're like, oh, sweet, let's just keep going, you know?
yeah.
Let's
So
see where we
yeah,
can get to.
you moved, I moved. Um, I think from the last time I recorded this, you were actually still living like we moved twice. Or maybe not.
I moved twice.
You moved twice. Yeah, you moved in with me, and then we moved out from that place, and now we're in separate places. So that's cool.
The
Um,
grind, man.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
crazy to be like, I feel like I've lived so many lives, and it's very interesting because I'm only 30.
mm,
But I feel like there's even, and if you look at like 3 decades worth, in the last decade, I feel like there was three lives, right? And the deck before that, it's like that was like school, right? Like high school, college. And the decade before that, it's like you're a little kid. It's like three
yeah,
decades, but like 6 lives, but a lot of
yeah.
experience. And
Yeah, I like to think a lot of times I think of my life in chapters, kind of like Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith. He's like, this chapter is called running, or like this
oh
chapter,
yeah,
is called being a dumbass or something like that. Um,
I feel like I'm in a chapter of just like straight questioning everything.
dude,
Like
I
literally,
am in the exact same chapter. And a lot of people are like, your 20s are for figuring out, your 30s are for, like doing the thing. And I hope they're fucking right. I'm 27. I'm still figuring shit out.
you
For
gotta
sure.
add, yeah. The thing is, I don't. Everyone's different, but when you get to 30, I don't think.
I think
I,
30 is the new 23. And I actually believe that.
I could
Because
see that.
back in the day, dude, 23 people were like, I have three children. You know,
We have no children. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, I have three children. I have I got a life insurance policy out on me.
And usually the job they were working has been the same job the whole time, right?
Yeah, they're like, I've been there since I've been 15.
And it took till your 30s to even get to a position where you're like in charge or like managing people, you know?
Yeah, well, and then like it makes sense. Like the rate of people having kids has gone down like so much. I think we might even cover that one of our podcasts where we just are up to date on it. We know it. Like I think it's I don't know, like the rate of people having kids now, the age has gone up of when they decide to have kids, and then it's just less people having children. Like people are just less interested in having kids
Yeah,
because
that
they're
was
like,
on Shane Swan. Besides, like that was that podcast we did on fertility, and super interesting is we're what 50% less fertile than our fathers, like we are, and
our
then
our
there's
taints are
like
getting smaller.
cancer getting smaller, and then we have
Testosterone and miscarriages
uh,
are going
miscarriages
up
are
and
double
down. Yeah, well, so they've gone up 1% for the last 20 years in miscarriage rates, and then testosterone levels have gone down 1% for the last 20 years, which is really scary. And I think Peter Zahan might have mentioned this because he talked about the China thing where they fucked up with their one child rule, and now they have this like pop, like they're gonna have so many people die. It's gonna be more people than like the Black Plague killed just from aging out.
just from
and
aging out. They
and
did
I
fuck
don't
up.
know if he mentioned that America is also gonna like I think Joseph mentioned it, or he mentioned that we're also at some point going to struggle with a depopulation crisis because
That's
of
where
our,
we're at right now
yeah.
because besides our genitals not working, we also don't want to like no one wants to have kids at 23 anymore. We're like, no, we're just gonna. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Like up until I was 30, I got to travel and go to many countries and have many experiences. And if I had kids at like 22, that probably I don't know how that would have worked,
Fuck
to be
that, dude.
honest. But I didn't want to.
Me at
I was like,
22.
I was selfish, but I wanted to be. It's like, no, I have all this money. I'm gonna blow it today in
Yeah.
Italy. Like that
Yeah.
was my decision, you know.
But
Um,
yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, but also like I'm me at 22 with a responsible for a child. Good Lord. Like I would like, dude, 22. Okay, like I said, I break my life down in chapters. I would say 16 to 22. There's multiple chapters within that, but one of the chapters, a part of that was just like all I cared about was getting chicks. That's it. You know what I mean? And so
well, you're
si-
due. That's what we're programmed to do.
I know, but I'm just saying, like at 22, like having a child, like I think it'd be unfair to the child. And like there's times where you're supposed to be selfish for yourself, and I'm still in one of those times. Like I'm not, like you said, like I did a lot of traveling. I went to a bunch of different countries. We both worked for the same job that provided us a lot of money and a lot of experience and like really great friends. That's where we met. So yeah, I could, yeah, there's no way having a kid at 22.
My mom was 22 when she had me. How old were your parents when they had you?
Well, I'm the baby, and so like the difference between me and my brother is 8 years.
Yeah. See, I'm the older, and my brother's 7 years younger.
Yeah, yeah. But when they had my brother, I think my mom was, I want to say, well, I think she was like 27.
She was older already. Yeah, so your parents are way older.
My parents are old.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, yeah. I think my mom's 60 something. Um,
yeah. Yeah, your parents are definitely older than mine.
yeah.
My dad was
That's
like 24,
yeah.
which is bananas. I don't know. Which makes sense. They waited so long to have another one. They were like, holy shit. 100%.
You think you want to have kids?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's another chapter. Maybe some people experience, some people don't. But I feel like for me, I'm like, oh, okay, I did a bunch of stuff. Now I'm curious about what it would be like to be family, have kids, because that's like a whole life that you get to choose if you want to live that or not, too. You only get
Yeah.
one shot. So are you gonna do that or not?
Yeah, but with especially as a guy, like we can wait out on that longer, you know. Of course, if you meet someone that you love and they want to have kids, then it's like there's a more of a ticking time clock. But um, I've always wanted to have kids, and lately, like, and this has only been this year, like, because I've always wanted to have like 3 or 4 kids. And then I'm like starting to begin like, if I don't get my fucking shit figured out, like it's just, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
like
you're
like
like
I'm not gonna have kids unless I'm financially stable. Like I'm just not gonna do that.
you're
And
like, wait, how much do I cost to live? Holy
yeah,
shit. How much
like
would one other human being cost? Plus,
I heard a statistic that from 0 to 18, a child costs just around, I think it's like a $250,000,
okay.
like for expenses. That's not including college. That's just like feeding the kid, like clothes. It's just like
Bare
base
minimum. You
bare
get
minimum.
one
Yeah,
pair of
just like
clothes for the whole year. One set.
it's something like that. Maybe it was like, yeah, 100,
I believe
maybe it's
that.
150 or 250,000, something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, how much does food cost in 18 years? How much does 18 years of
Oh,
food
it's way
cost?
more than it cost when we were little. I mean, I can tell you that. It's only going to go
God,
up.
yeah.
So, a lot.
Goddamn Biden.
Well, that's another thing I was thinking about. I was like, okay, well, but not if I was like, if I have my own garden, I'm growing like half my food.
Yeah.
That's a big difference in cost if you do have a family. Now it makes sense why my dad has a garden, why he hunts,
See,
and
a lot of
he
people.
texted me. He was like, "Dude, we lost 40 pounds of meat because his freezer cut off. Do you know how
Oof,
much that is?
that's a lot.
I mean, and he was super pissed about it, but
I
that
would be
makes
too.
sense. Sorry, he lost 75. Yeah, he lost 40 pounds of meat and he had 75 bluegill that he had caught, like fish in there too.
Mm,
That's a
mm.
lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a
The whole
family of
guard, the whole garden thing, though, it's like when people say that, unless they're vegan, vegetarian, like if I had a garden, I'd still need to go like majority hunt because like I don't just stuff my face with tomatoes and cabbage and like I'm full.
no, it's you supplement it. You do both.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
like imagine if you're growing a bunch of shit. Like I would have a lot of fruit, to be honest. I'd have like
But
an
fruit doesn't grow well in Georgia. There's very like you get peaches and
oranges,
then
peaches, apples.
oranges. Do oranges grow well here? Do they?
hmm Yeah, my dad's friend Chris, he has a huge garden, huge trees in the back. One of them is an orange trees. He has an apple tree.
I would do
He
fruit. That'd
has
be so.
pear. I would
I
do a
would.
lot of fruit, man.
Yeah, I would love that. Like the ask. I love the thought of going outside and going like, and then just biting into like a apple. You
Fresh ass
know?
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like an orange.
So I do a lot of
Um,
fruit. I don't know. I don't like that many vegetables, but there are some. Like I grow potatoes, some tomatoes. I do a lot of jalapenos because that'd be kind of cool. Maybe some start. Yeah, I don't know. You can do all sorts of shit, but if you gotta
yeah.
have the land to do it and the space to do it. But I do think that if you are gonna have a family, that would save you a lot of money and could be fun.
Yeah, I think for one of the biggest things is how fun it is. Like I've grown some things and I've had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun growing them. I remember when I was younger, like it was just a good experience. Like I grew a tomato plant outside and or actually I grew several and I don't know, watching those like come to life and then give you like a tomato that you go inside, slice up and put on a sandwich. Like that's pretty sweet. Growing something is an experience I think everyone should have. I really do. And it's like it's very cathartic, very therapeutic. It's like watching something come to life. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to do a bunch of like different types of mushrooms as well. Have you seen some of those like YouTube videos?
Uh like
People basically have like a
like
mushroom farm, and of course they'll grow psilocybin too, but they'll also do a bunch of different types of mushrooms,
mm.
and they'll make all sorts of stuff out of them, which
Don't
is
you just
cool.
like need like a dank place, just like a dark, like a dark.
Basically, yeah, it's like a reverse cooler. They just get like a cooler shaped thing, and then they put some seeds or spores, whatever.
You
I
don't
mean,
need light,
you don't need light, certain type of light, I guess. I don't
certain
know.
type of light.
I don't know enough about it, but I think that would be kind of interesting too, because you can make so much different things with all different types of mushrooms too. And it's like
Yeah,
it's more meaty, which I do think is funny. But
how mushrooms are kind of meaty. Is
well,
that what you're
yeah,
saying?
because they're not yeah. Like people are like, oh yeah, I'm vegetarian, and they'll talk about eating mushrooms, and I get it because it's kind of like a vegetable, but mushrooms are definitely not vegetables.
They're
Like
fungi.
they're fungus, and that's why they are meaty. They produce oxygen, or that sorry, they produce carbon dioxide like we do. They're more
That's
related
right.
to us than vegetables, so that's why they're
Yeah.
pretty meaty. You can replace a portobello mushroom with like a burger. You can
Yeah.
eat portobello like and taste
Yeah.
kind of meaty.
Yeah. Hey, what was that one fact we read? It was like the Paul Stamets one we covered where it was like we branched off from our mushrooms, like or was mushrooms branched off
Two
from
things. The whole world used to be covered in mushrooms that were like 20 meters high, which is insane. Was it
yeah,
like I don't know, big tree side mushrooms. Number two is we branched off
let's
from
say a
fungus.
billion something years ago. But the cool thing is like we're more related to mushrooms than we are to was it to plants or we're more
Yeah,
related to
by
mushroom.
far.
Yeah. As fungi. Hey Zach, why did they invite the mushroom to the party?
Because he was a fun guy.
Hey, and I just want to let the audience know that I am doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, how's the
uh,
stand-up's been going? Because last time we talked, it was very different than what it is now. And I think it's really cool because like a lot of our listeners listen to Joe Rogan, so do we,
yeah.
among other things. And they're at a level of expertise, and a lot of his guests are,
Yeah.
but you never get to talk to the new people. And that's what you're seeing and doing right now. And I'm actually kind of curious on the back end, especially with the Atlanta scene, what you
So
notice.
I I have I'll have more bad nights than I'll have good nights. um
Okay.
because so I mean one of the things that like it's like I'll have some like good nights and that makes me feel more alive than anything I've ever done in my life. Like that's why I want to do this. That's why I want to do stand-up comedy, which I guess is a big switch from probably last time the audience or heard our last rant. But yeah, I want to do comedy, maybe some acting, and then I want to do like you know any type of entertainment, so like podcasting, put that out there. We've talked about our entertainment company, which well maybe keep
A
that on
little
the down.
plant seed right there.
Yeah, a little, yeah, a little something. So that's what I would want to do, and that's what I'm aiming to do. But it's hard, dude. Like I like Cody asked me, she was like you're enjoying it, right? And I was like, not at all. I go up there thinking I'm gonna have a really great night, and then get crickets, and like I put my heart and soul into a joke, and then just get like fucking like those like ooh, and it's just not funny. So yeah, and like that happens, and then I'll have some where it's the jokes that I think won't land at all, like they hit, and I'm like, what was funny
Yeah,
about
it's
that? Was
confusing.
yeah, was it the way I said it? And like there's so many
What
nuances in comedy that it's mind-boggling of like, was it the way my body language was when I said it and that's why they laughed? Was it the audience that night? Was it like, my tonality? Was it the words in
start
order that
questioning everything?
you start questioning because you're like, why did that one make him laugh, but this one didn't? Because sit down funny, I would argue that like I'm one of our funnier friends, right? Like in our group of people, like we
Right.
all, and like I know I make you guys like when I'm in a group of people sit down, I make them laugh, and I like that aspect about me. So that means that I can translate to being on stage funny, but that doesn't mean it's easy and it's so fucking hard. So
Well, one thing I would say I think is hard is the short 5 minutes, 3 minutes. I think if you actually got to go up on stage and your room's got 20, 30, 40, 50 people and you had 5, 10 minutes to warm up and get to know them, kind of like you already know your friends,
yeah,
then you know how to set up and drop jokes after you've warmed up the room. So I think in some aspect, as a viewer, I don't practice this, but it seems to me that maybe the 5 to 10 minutes of stand up that you get would be easier because you get that time to warm up in the beginning versus if you have to do 5 minutes and you just gotta like punch jokes in. I feel like
yeah,
those are two totally different things. I feel like if you have more time, it could be um
more beneficial.
yeah, like because then you just walk up into a front group and be like, yeah, you can pick on somebody, you could ask somebody something, you could get to know what the room responds to while making fun of someone else, not yourself. I don't know.
Yeah,
And then you don't have to just like because you mentioned that you don't do the same jokes every single time
that's one of
and
my
you're
issues.
changing it, right? But then
Yeah.
again, it's like, well, you already know what hit because you
Mhm.
did it a week before and it hit every time. So why would you keep doing it, right? So you got to find more stuff. It's very weird.
I'm
Difficult.
one of those people that gets bored really easily, and I
Yeah,
have I have an issue of repeating the same thing. Like I want my life to
I
be
would
always
too.
be exciting, And sometimes sucking up there is actually exciting because it's just like, ooh, I'm nervous. Like, ooh, you know what I mean? It's like, so
Yeah.
just to like actually feel something. No,
You're like, I need to
I
feel
just need to
feelings,
feel anything.
even if it's bad.
But yeah, just to I do have an issue. Like I will say that I barely go back and repunch up jokes that I've already done. I just write new jokes, and that's an issue.
You still have it
So
written though, so if you could go up, you can
yeah,
have them all.
yeah. And I typically try to record what I'm doing. I will say the main places I go to. There's one in Marietta and there's one in Atlanta, and the one in Marietta is gives you 5 minutes, which is cool, and the one in Atlanta gives you three. But the host in Atlanta is he's such a fucking twat. I don't like him. He's a dick.
Oh, I remember you
um,
telling me about that guy. Sorry,
yeah,
guy, if you're listening to this. Not really.
yeah.
We don't
I
like you.
think I think the so like if I get it as if you're a host, like it's really an easy joke is to like make fun of the open micer who just came up and sucked. But
Nah, I
that's
think
such an easy cop out, and it's like, how about you just get better and maybe tell funnier jokes? Because the
if
one in Marietta doesn't do that, and he actually has like more jokes in between each thing, and he's
I feel
not
like
just
that's
a
what you should do as a host. Like, hey,
yeah,
fill in the time and make it good for everyone.
yeah.
I could do that. I could host, and then everyone who went up, I could roast. That's easy. I feel like that's a cop
But
out.
it's easy, and it's just like a dick move because a lot of times, like especially even me, like I go up and I'm like, all right, I really want this night to go well, and then when it doesn't, I definitely don't need some asshole being like, hey, you didn't go well and you fucking suck. Like, oh, thanks, dude. Now I will say, do I want to be a little snowflake bitch that can't handle anything? No, it's like, what makes diamonds? A lot of pressure, like being forced to get better. Sure. So like like
But
that's his
in
thing,
yeah,
and like I will get better. I'm still gonna go up, and I'm still gonna go to that same open mic. And he
I
can
just
suck
feel
my
like that's
balls.
yeah, I get the pressure thing, but to me, it's like I've already lived a whole 30 ass years of people shitting on me. Like, this isn't a new skill I need to work on, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know, like, did you go back the next time and then just like make fun of him back?
No, but I have a
Didn't
whole
do it.
set. I have a
You have a
whole
whole set.
set
All
written
right,
down to make
ready.
fun of him. And I'm thinking, is it like super petty if I go and do that? Like my next set
Yes.
I go do, like do I just literally lay into him? Or do I just keep on just getting funnier and then like I win by just being like, oh, you can't talk shit because I just got everyone to laugh. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Suck my
We
balls.
can
And
just
just
record it and just put it on our little show. It's like Noah Roast host of Atlanta.
yeah, but then that just shows it's like, how much am I gonna really let this guy bother me? It's not even a big deal. It's like it's just some open mic host that is annoying. Like who gives a fuck?
Well, to
That's
all
that's on him.
open, yeah, to all open mic hosts of the world, boost up your speakers and tell more jokes to make the audience like it should be throughout, like you're boosting everybody up. People care, like,
I think so.
especially we know this, like people care more how like leave people feeling better than you met them, right? And that host is leaving people feeling way worse.
Yeah, dude, were you no, you weren't there, but like on my birthday, he there was this group of white guys. He's a black host, and there's a group of white guys, and they were like clearly like belligerent drunk. Like they were not, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And bro, the show was over. So the show usually ends at like 11. And like at like 10:50, he starts like kind of trying to do crowd work with these three drunk white guys. And he was like picking on them and whatever. Like at first it was funny, like it was like good stuff. And then he starts just like laying into them. And like they're so drunk, they're just like now they start looking at each other like, all right, dude, like why are you being an asshole? And then he just like keeps on going. And now they're having this back and forth. It's like 11:10 at this point. So he's gone on for like 20 minutes. People are starting to leave. They're like, this is just like, all right, dude, like what are you doing? Like it's not crowd work is crowd work, but like you're just like now you guys are just arguing. Like you're arguing with a mic, and then you're not letting these people without a mic are just like yelling
Argue
at you.
back.
And it was dude. And so we all like stood up, and then so we left, and we're starting to leave, and then it broke out, and like they had a like the one like they were holding each other back because it like started into a fight. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's what you get when you're a twat fucking host and you're not actually being funny. You're just like being an asshole. So like I was like, this is not what comedy's supposed to be. Like I get crowd work, but you're actually just being a douche. So
We definitely don't like this guy.
I don't like this guy. Um, but
That
it is
makes
what it
sense.
is.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You should be a good boost up everybody, be a good host. it's so easy to. I think that's a cop out because it's just so easy to do. It's so easy to make fun. I can think of anything for anyone pretty fast. So I just think it's too easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's just yeah, it is easy. And it's some of it can be really funny, but I'm not the biggest fan of roasting like roast battle comedies. I'm like even like while I'm sitting
You're
there
like,
and
ooh,
it's someone I don't know, I'm like, that's just kind of mean. I'm like,
dude, some of the roasts are so bad.
yeah. Like I remember I don't even care for Justin Bieber that much. Like, like I'm not a huge Justin Bieber fan. But I remember they had a roast of him and
Oh yeah,
apparently there was something about his mom maybe she's gone under record having an abortion or whatever. And they were like making fun of like he was like, yeah, like you almost got the coat hanger. Like Justin, you could have been just like a coat hanger or something like that. It was like, Jesus
you're like,
Christ, man.
Jesus.
Like
But he had a good roast back because I remember seeing that, and he had something back. He's like,
what do you get when you get a bunch of what do you get when you get a when you give a millionaire to or a teenage boy $200 million? A bunch of has-beens trying to make fun of me.
yeah, he's like a bunch of has-beens calling me a lesbian for 2 hours or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That was pretty funny because that was
That was
genuine.
yeah. Call
He's
me a
like,
lesbian for 2 hours. It was. It's funny. It was like solid. Good on you.
yeah, I did think that was a good one.
Yeah. Also, I don't even know like how does someone handle that much pressure? Like
It could
imagine being
be a tabloid, but I read something that got showed up on my Facebook or Instagram that he did sell all of his music rights and that he was like, I don't feel like doing music anymore. This just sucks. So look into that. I don't know. I saw that yesterday.
I could see myself doing that. Imagine being famous from like 10 years old. Because when did Baby come out? Wasn't he like 11, 10?
In my mind, he was like 7. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Baby, baby, baby.
Very, very young. And so yeah.
Yeah. And now
I mean, it's
he's,
been 20 years, dude. I'd be like, I needed to do normal stuff now.
yeah, like
Something
I'm just
different.
gonna like normal stuff with, I don't know, $500 million, but all right.
Maybe he'll go travel, go see some shit, start a new career, be a professor. Who knows?
Yeah. Imagine Justin Bieber, like you just end up like going to a yoga class in Georgia and he's just like, I'm your teacher.
He's a yogi.
Yeah. He's just like, welcome to class.
I could see him becoming a yogi for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. The only other thing I know about Justin Bieber is apparently he started talking to this like I think this guy's like a priest or a pastor, but he's like a celebrity priest pastor. So like other celebrities will come talk to him. And there's some weird things
Sounds
going
like a
on.
cult.
Yeah, there's some weird things going on where like there's like walking around shirtless and stuff. And I mean, I guess that's not necessarily weird, but I
And
don't
then the
know.
priest fucks their wives. Yeah, it's a cult.
Yeah, probably. Um,
No, I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know much about that. I'm just talking on my ass, but it does sound like that.
yeah. So yeah, I hope comedy goes well. Catch me at Monday nights at McCracken's, Wednesday night at well then that just lets everyone know
I
who the host
heard
is there. But
I heard dudes from work with us at catering went to do some stand up too.
I went with him.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a
So it was
really
just
great I
one
had a really
guy.
great no, it was both the Johns.
Okay.
And
The
I had
cook
a real
Sean and the okay, gotcha.
yeah, and I had a really great set there and I didn't record it, but like
Oh,
good
that's okay.
crowd work, good set, making everybody laugh. Like I it
How
was
did they
that was
do?
really so Tall John is a storyteller, and I honestly was really impressed of like how
He fit it in.
well I'm like I would just run out like because stand up still makes me nervous. So when I get up there, I'm like I can remember my jokes, but a lot of times if I'm not in like a free flowing mood, like it's hard for me to remember a story. And he was just like could tell so many stories and interconnect them, and like he would tell the same story and it lasts like 20 minutes. And I was like, wow, like good on this guy. Um,
That's a good skill.
yeah, it is a good skill. Wasn't a lot of like punchlines in it. There was some like like kind of haha
Uh,
moments, and he even admitted that too. And then Small John was like funny. Like he did like 10 minutes, and it was just like you could it was like he had a natural like this is like set up punch kind of thing.
fuck
And
yeah, dude.
so that was really cool to see. And
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. It was
yeah,
funny that he thought I was you when I showed up like the next day. He like said some sentence and I was like, yeah, man. I know what you're talking about. And he was like, you're not who I thought you were. I was like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I was like, you probably thought I was no. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, we don't look alike, but
We
okay.
just have glasses, but you're like what, 4 inches, 3 inches taller than me? 4 inches? I think you're 4 inches taller than me.
I'm
Five
6'2"
inches?
and blonde, right?
Yeah. I'm
We're
5'10, so you're 4 inches taller than me with blonde hair. And like our builds are just not the same. Like
not the same.
like that's funny.
It's okay.
Uh
You
you
know,
hear about the writers strike?
riot tours.
The writers strike?
Oh, so kind of. Um,
Mm.
I don't know that much about it, but apparently I would assume what it sounds like is all the writers for, I guess, TV shows and movies and stuff are just like, we're not writing anymore. Fuck you, right?
Yeah, but it's about AI. Um
Which I get, but why would they stop doing that? Wouldn't you compete harder? I would start using AI as a writer to like win. I don't know.
No,
I'm
so
not in
so
there, but
so it's not that. It's like because they're obviously thinking I can use AI to win. What it is they'll put. So let's say that you're a prolific writer, you're kind of a known writer, like in the WGA, the Writers Guild Association or Writers Guild of America, and you let's say you write for like a really important TV show, or maybe like you're a writer for movies or whatever, and those are your original ideas are for Family Guy, or your original ideas are for Ozarks, and then AI goes and takes your original idea for someone else to create and put in their show, and doesn't give you any credit for that was yours, even though it's sourced on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that makes sense. So like
So,
because of how much they've added to these shows, they didn't get what is it called?
well, it's just basically stealing their property.
Royalty,
Yeah, royalties. So like,
royalties.
yeah, and I maybe there's probably other things that like other angles I'm not thinking about, but I do know that that's like one of them. It's like,
I
hey,
just
this is
assumed that if you wrote it, you get paid for it, but I
yeah,
didn't.
but
It's
AI can like because it just takes stuff that's on the internet, and if your stuff's out there, then
because AI can plagiarize everything, right? That's how Chat GPT works. It could basically search everyone's stuff that's already been rewritten, written before, and regurgitate to you, but it can't come up with anything new.
right.
So I guess, but I just thought that if somebody's like, "Hey, you're gonna write for Family Guy," I thought that I don't understand. I don't know if they pay you like per episode you wrote for royalties for what you've written, or per
Mm.
time. Like I don't know how those contracts work, and I thought that's what the strike was about.
Mm.
Because if you were a writer and you got paid for everything you ever written from like movies in the past, like 20 years ago, you're still getting paid on that, that'd be baller. But I don't think it's like that, or they
I
wouldn't be
don't
so
think it's
mad
like
right
that.
now.
Yeah, well, and that's what AI is bringing up. It's like, well, you're bringing up the stuff I've already written potentially. Um, Also, just like from a creative angle, like, yes, is it easier to type in AI, hey, give me an episode on Family Guy about, Goose shitting on, a baby's head? Like, okay, right? Like, all right, like, I know that's so random, but it's like, you're
But you
some
can
things,
edit it and rewrite it. I don't know.
I know, but some things that are makes life easier for us, a lot of things that make life easier for us is not necessarily better. It's like just
But you did come up with that question to ask.
I did.
That's what humans get paid for, man. AI can't come up with new ideas. You have to ask.
I think that if you want to
Yet.
exercise your creativity, you're better off just coming up with it on your own. I think, I mean, that being said, I also don't want to like shit on anyone who's using AI to, like win. Like, cause like that's, hey, it's a tool, and like what do humans do? Like, we get a new tool,
Fucking use it.
we're gonna use it. Yeah. So like, I don't know. But I think I'm more old school. We talked about this. This is a good one to bring up because we talked about this in the past. AI scares me, and I've heard both sides of this. Like, hey, like the car scared, like the Industrial Revolution scared everybody. The car was like scared when the TV came out. Everyone was like, there was thoughts back then, like all everyone's gonna
When
do is just
trains came
watch.
out, when trains started, they thought they would
Yeah,
be going too fast that their like brain would leave their body, or like their soul would stop, or like their heart would stop, it'd be going too fast, or some shit
when
like that.
when
Like,
when movies came out, they were like, our eyes won't be able to adapt to that many changing pictures at the same time. They were
yeah.
like, we can only just look at pictures. If you have that many changing pictures, we're gonna freak out.
There's always been a very big scare fear among
Yeah.
new things.
All I'm saying though, and maybe this is it for us. You know, this is our TV is chat is AI is like it's not going to be a big deal. It seems to me that the consequences on this one are way more dire than any of those other examples we mentioned in the past. Like social media, like okay, you could argue that TV's never been like it's been good for people because we get a news source, like because it was like you could actually have visuals attached instead of just radio. You get to see people's body language, so that way information's like given to you and processed better because body language is like most of information. Um, but then on the flip side, TV can make you really like lazy and like you can also just kill brain cells because you're doing nothing. Like okay, I see the argument there, but with social media, I'm almost like I would say that it is a net negative and then it is a net positive. And there's a lot of research backing that it's like really hurts self-confidence. It really is it's a huge distraction because it's like it's always in your pocket. Like it kills attention spans. It's like it causes depression. It causes more self-mutilation in girls, more suicidal ideation because people are comparing themselves. Yes, does it connect us to everyone? Yeah, but like when's the last time you reached out to someone on social media to actually catch up with somebody? I mean, it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's like we're not really using it to connect with people. Kind of. I mean, now Instagram is basically Tinder, right? I've heard that like you just like people are on Instagram are just like, yo, what's up? You like
I
what are you
mean,
doing?
you can message anyone you want, pretty much.
Yeah, like, but I didn't even think of it that way. But like now, I mean, I'm in a relationship. You're in a relationship. But like, I get that now. Like, Instagram has become like the new like. It's also that's another thing too. I know I'm ranting here, but this is what it is. This is a rant. But it's like, isn't it weird when you have like if you're in a relationship? I find it weird that like your significant other will post like really seductive pictures and like they're in a relationship. Like if they're having OnlyFans or something, like that's one thing. But it's like, who are you doing that for? You got
They're
a
doing it
boyfriend, you got
for
a
other
girlfriend.
chicks and themselves, bro. They're doing it for other chicks and themselves,
I
100%. And whenever them two listen to this, yes, I'm talking to whoever, right? Our two girlfriends, but like
No, I'm not. Mine
all
doesn't
of
do
them.
that. Mine doesn't do that. And because like I talked to mine, and it's like I think that a lot of times they're doing that because it's for attention, but you also are going to get a lot of attention from dudes, and it's like,
Well, it's like, what
eh,
kind of attention do you want to attract? So essentially, like, you are who you attract. So depending on what you post, you're also going to attract that. So if you're posting a lot of just, I think that's a kind of a duh moment where it's like, oh, there's a bunch of people blowing up my DMs. It's like, well, look at what you posted.
yeah,
That makes sense. I'm not
your
surprised.
ass is out.
Yeah, I would too. I'm like, are you blaming me? It's like, dude,
You
that
would
makes
too.
sense.
I would only do that if that's what I was like going for. Like if I like are you doing that because you want a big social media following and you're trying to sell something? Because that works. Sex sells always. But
For
if you're
sure.
if you're not if you're just doing it because you want to put your ass out there and get attention, then we have some other issues. You know what I mean? Like I would be personally upset if my girlfriend was just putting out a bunch of like titty pictures and ass pictures out, like obviously not nudes, but like very
That's just,
seductive pictures.
yeah, I don't
And
think you
then
should be mad, but I think that's a conversation where it's like, hey, why? Like, there's a reason, it's gonna be for connection or for themselves, or that it could be something as petty as like, oh, well, my ex-boyfriend's dating this chick and she's doing it, so I gotta post better ones. Like I've seen that.
yeah,
I
but
know that that's true.
I don't believe I think that that's a I mean maybe that's
I
a surface level reason,
I
but
know people who do that, have
yeah,
done
but
that,
maybe like that's the surface level reason, but the main reason is because like they want to get attention from males or females or whatever they're into.
or both. Yeah, either
Yeah,
way, I don't
exactly.
know.
And like
Feels good. Gotta chase the likes, man. It's that dopamine button.
that's what I'm saying. Like like I
Okay,
think it's I don't think it's gonna I don't know. And then other people.
let's say the opposite. If you, Noah,
Mhm.
you got the most shredded you ever been in your life,
Yeah,
right? You're feeling good. You're confident.
yeah,
Would you ever post any pictures of that? Like
yeah.
the first time you have an 8-pack, Like, would you?
Yeah,
Okay, why?
well, I would say because what I've always thought so when I get an 8 pack, and this is what I did do in the past, I posted a picture of me fat and then a picture of me when I got fit. And I was like,
That's exciting.
yeah, and I was like, progress. And I'm not saying like I don't want to be self-righteous and be like I did it because I want to show that like, hey, if you go work out with this guy, because I had a trainer at the time, like that's why. But or just like saying like, hey, like if you discipline yourself and you really set your goals the right way, like you can achieve it, like kind of trying to be like a motivational
Oh,
for
are you
good.
trying to inspire others?
Yeah, like
So my question is like, why?
I mean, why inspire others? I mean, I would say one of my core values is I want to help other people.
If you see a picture of some dude who was fat and now is ripped, and they post that exact same picture, how do you feel when you see it?
I every time I see something like that, I'm always proud of that person.
You're like, good job, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
does
if
it
I like,
motivate
but
you?
if it's just and if it's, yeah, like, I mean,
It
I actually,
does.
yeah, when I recently saw, yeah, cause like I'm overweight right now and I'm like,
Yeah. To
like, and
me, yeah. To
I
me, it
see people
doesn't
like,
motivate me. I'm just like, to me, exactly what you said. Oh, I'm like, yeah, good job, bro. But like, you posting that for inspiration, me to give you a like, to inspire
yeah, or
me. There's
attention.
like, what's the reasons you did that? Because when you were fat, you didn't post anything
Yeah. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's because they probably didn't have the, like, one of the things you could say is they didn't have the confidence to do it, like
And
they
now they're
weren't
more
confident.
confident.
They're more confident now. And it's like, yeah, it's like, look, people want to see results. And if you can post your fat self and then your fit self, it's like, all right, like
You
not
can
only can I
see it.
see this, like the proof is in the pudding. He or she really did do it.
Or they're using like social pressure to hold them accountable. It's like, well, now people already know I'm fit, so I can't get fat again. They're kind of like using everything that I don't
Yeah.
know. There's a bunch of reasons that people could post provocative stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot. All I'm saying is if I'm in a relationship with that person, I don't appreciate it. I'm like, well, what are we
You're
doing
like
here?
weirded out.
Yeah. I'm like, well, like, it's because I would say that 9 times out of 10, it's for attention. And then that kind of, and then when you get that attention constantly, it's going to lead to DMs and it's going to lead to, oh, this makes me feel good that this person's complimenting me. And then you're talking to this person and then talking leads to meetups and then blah, 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 blah. You know
And
what I'm
one
saying?
conversation I've had in the past where it's as conversation with somebody else is like, hey, be careful of like how you let people talk to you in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, do you want people to come out of a respectful, or do you want them to come out like hitting on you because of whatever you did? And then what you have from that point then on forever is kind of like how you let it go in the first place. So whatever you
Yeah.
let happen in the first place is going to stay like that and just won't go away.
Yeah. Like the boundaries are important. And so, like, that's why I'm always like, if someone is putting out a promiscuous picture, if they have an OnlyFans, that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Because they're
Um,
trying to make money that
they're
they
trying to
deserve
make
to
it,
be.
there's a objective reason for it. But even if they have an OnlyFans, then you got to question, why'd you get into an OnlyFans in the first place? Because it's not like, just because someone's hot and has a great body doesn't mean they don't have the intelligence to maybe do a job that's has a little more integrity.
Bro,
Um,
OnlyFans people can make a fuckload of money.
I
That's why, man.
I
I mean,
know.
that's why.
I know. Like
If
if
somebody was like, hey, I'll give you 50 grand a month to show me your dick, I'd be like, all right, I'll do it.
I
You
I've
would
thought
too.
I've thought about it as well. Look, I go back and forth.
You
Because the
gotta
truth,
leave.
I've had this discussion a lot. I've had this discussion a lot, and I've thought about it. Like I've always been super big on legacy, which I know is like it's just what drives me. It's like I want to like leave this place better than I found it, in a sense, and like make sure that people like when they talk about me when I'm gone, which doesn't matter because I'm gone, but it's like, oh yeah, like respectable, commendable, good guy, Noah Reeves, funny, whatever. So the immediate answer would be like 50 grand to show my dick. Yeah. Like, are you kidding? Like, I don't give a fuck. I can use that 50 grand in so many better avenues, right? And then the other part of me is like, I do have to live with that decision for life. And my legacy and my self confidence personally and integrity personally is tarnished because I chose an easier route just because someone offered it. So I go back and forth. And
How is it tarnished? I don't agree. I'm like, what? Because
I
that 50 grand you can turn into millions for your family. You can turn that into a legacy that's actually pays for their school.
Yeah, I get it. Like
50 grand every month, bro.
I see every month. Yeah, I see it. Like I see I see that. I just like all right, well, like why don't you make an OnlyFans right now? We both know that
Because I
like
wouldn't make 50 grand. Everyone has a
but
dick. It's not
how much would
special.
you like I talked to one guy at a party like half a year ago and there was a dude, he wasn't gay and he had an OnlyFans and he said he was like making pretty good stacks.
Yeah,
And
but
like he
what's that
said
mean?
I think it was like something like 2 grand a week,
Okay.
or it was like it was like 1,500 to 2 grand a week. That's a fucking dude to
That's a
post
regular job
pictures of
though.
your butthole. You know
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
get that.
saying?
I get that. But that's the
So
same as a
like,
regular job. It's not 50 grand a month.
but dude, like you have all the time in the world to go do other things.
Yeah. It
You
just
post a
adds
couple of
to it.
pictures and then dip out and go live your life. You
You
know?
got to do one of those niches. Hey man, you probably the riches are in the niches. So if you're a dude and you're going OnlyFans, you probably got to do something specific, like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sure. I think
some
this guy
weird
was like
shit.
spreading apart his butt cheeks for dudes, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, why don't you? And like, he's not gay. Like he wasn't gay. So it's like, why don't you make it? And that's why I always say like the initial thought of making OnlyFans, not like, yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, no loss of integrity. I think that it's the road that you start taking that does become like
You
you
sound,
start.
I get it. You sound like the guy that if you smoke weed, you're gonna do meth tomorrow.
I don't believe that, man. You know that I have I'm a open-minded person. I'm just saying it's a lot more potential. Look, the person that doesn't smoke weed and the person that does, would you agree there's a lot more potential the person that does later on that they might do meth than the person that doesn't? It's like you've accepted a drug, you like the
I
way the
don't
drug
know.
feels. Like now maybe there's another drug that can make you feel good too, but a person that never does it.
I never done it. I never
I've never
would.
done it either. I know we both smoked weed. Like I get
Yeah,
that.
because I'm not retarded. Like I know the difference. And so again, if you don't know the difference and you're susceptible while high, yeah, I could see that. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. You're like, oh yeah, well I've done weed before, so I'll just do meth. It's a gateway.
Or like maybe you
It's like
constantly
you're
you
like, dude, that's not a gateway. That's like
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, okay, how about this? This is a better way to put it. A person around drugs is a lot more likely to come in contact with meth than the person who's never around drugs. Would you agree with that?
yeah,
There
because
you go.
you're around drug, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, where's that weed? Like, all I'm saying is the weed dealer probably has a connection to a Molly dealer who has a connection to a meth dealer. Like, I don't, it's just
But
like the
the thing
path
is, you
that you
said
take.
integrity, and I'm like, that to me, that's like, oh, because I spread my butt cheeks for dudes and got paid like 2 grand that week, you lose integrity. But I don't think you lost integrity, like because you didn't lie, you just did it. That's bravery to
Well,
me. I'm like, dude, that's really brave, man.
if
Like you
lying
went
is
out
your
there.
if you're lying is your only bar for like integrity being lost, then because that's an
I think
individualistic
I
thing.
think
Like
change the word. I don't think you lose integrity. I think you lose maybe your version of reputation.
not for me. It's
Maybe.
like, well, so I'm saying that integrity is subjective. For one person, spreading their butt cheeks for $2,000 for other dudes is not a loss of integrity. For me personally, it is. So like it's a subjective thing. But like I also think there's some objective things. Like I don't know. Like would most people say that like the like a high integrity job is a stripper? I think most people would say no. And like I we can get into like why and why not. And like I don't want to shame any
Okay,
strippers
well,
out
the
there.
thing is, you don't know what their integrity is. So I looked it up. I looked up. So integrity, a steadfast adherence. Can't read. Steadfast adherence to a strict moral ethic code. So it's like, hey, you maintain integrity by keeping your own moral
That's
line
why I said it's
straight.
subjective.
So for you, you're saying that if you did do that, you stepped over your moral line, so you lost your own integrity.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
and that
saying
one's
I
not
agree
even
with you.
that one's like ethical or yeah.
Estate quality cause being whole or undivided. So
But
maybe if
see
you
that
stepped
that's
over
the one.
that,
That's the one. Look at the third one. The quality or condition of being whole or undivided completeness. And what I'm saying is a
you as a
stripper.
person lose your integrity, but their integrity for the person who's stripping may not even be related to that job at all,
Yeah, I'm
like
with you.
at all. So
I
they wouldn't even cross any lines.
but all I'm saying is that jobs like that, I think they're more likely to create a slippery slope to someone losing their completeness, losing their condition of being whole or undivided. Because like, like
I don't know. I think you should go do it and find out.
Definitely not gonna go do it and
Well,
find
I'm
out.
saying if you haven't done it, I don't know. Like,
Hey, I've also never sucked a dude's dick, and I don't plan on finding that out either.
yeah, but if you
I
were
hate that
in,
argument so much, that whole like you don't know unless you tried it. It's like, okay, well, I've never tried murdering my dog, but I don't think that would feel good. Like,
yeah, but you're talking about integrity. Like, if you are in a country where they eat dog, you don't lose any integrity because that's what everyone does. It's normal.
that's what everyone does in China. That's why I said it's
Parts
subjective.
of it,
If I eat a dog, I lose my integrity. I'm never eating a dog.
you would lose your integrity, but not somebody else who doesn't have that. So
That's what I'm saying. It's subjective. It's like
it's not subject. It okay. It could be subjective, but what I'm saying is, it's a personal thing. Like,
that's what
it's
subject
your
like that's
own
why
thing.
yeah. That's
But you
I mean,
can't say that somebody else would lose their integrity by doing something just because you would.
well,
You
I agree.
could,
I
but that
agree
doesn't
with
mean anybody else would.
I agree with that, but you can make some pretty sound arguments of why people lose a lot of integrity because of the type of work it is. So I can't say that someone would, but I could say that, hey, like for instance, if I was to say, Zach, for the next 90 days, you have to shoot up heroin for the next 90 days.
I would
I
die.
okay, no you
Thanks.
wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. A lot of people shoot up.
Microdose, microdose,
Yeah,
microdose.
no, they're not even microdose, like a normal dose. You like people shoot up heroin every day, like addicts do, and they can do that for months on end. And what I'm saying is that I have a pretty good idea because of that, what you're doing, that you would lose a lot of integrity, from what the actions you're doing. In the same way that I can have a good idea that OnlyFans or being a porn star or like being a hitman would be a pretty like most likely slippery slope of going down in a loss of integrity. That's what I'm saying. So yes, I can't make for sure, and I can't tell you that you will lose integrity, but I can make some pretty good arguments based on the things that you're doing. That's what I'm saying.
I hear you. But to me, it's like, if I'm just being me and then you come at me, hey, you're losing integrity. I'd be like, says your
Well,
own
that's
moral. I'd be like, what are you talking
that.
about? That's
This
on
is
you.
why.
Yeah.
This is why I start off saying that I can't. Like, I don't want to judge or like shame anyone that doesn't OnlyFans or has or is a stripper. Like, there's a stripper
But
out
but
there with a
but but by
child.
saying by saying, oh, I'm losing integrity by doing these, and then you list all of them, you just judge everybody on your list. You didn't add like being a clown. You didn't add like being a public speaker. You didn't
Yeah.
add a comic because you don't think you lose integrity doing those things. But I could argue all three that you
No,
could.
I'm with you. Like
Right.
I agree. Again, this is why it's like back to like being subjective. Like, yeah, you could say that like being in the comedy world, a lot of comics are super depressed, manic, crazy people. Like being around those people might make me
Lose
worse. Or
integrity. That can make it
yeah,
way worse. Like, I mean, I could even argue that, like, hey, having an OnlyFans where you just have pictures and doing whatever, maybe you could lose less integrity than hanging out with comics because of the conversations that come up. You could
yeah, you
argue it
could.
so many ways.
You could make that argument. I would argue back on it. But what I'm trying to say is for me personally seeing these things. And then there's things I think that we have like some universal truths. I don't think anyone in the right mind would say that someone doing heroin every day is not going to result in a loss of integrity, right? We can have some like pretty universal arguments of like, hey, if you go out and murder everyone, like someone every day, like you're not going to feel too good unless you're a serial killer or whatever, right?
I don't know.
That's I'm just like I'm trying to make some generalizations here.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
we
can
can
see in
argue
general.
we can argue all day of different things that can make a lack of a loss of integrity. I'm
Anyways,
just
it
trying
could
to
be anything technically, depending on what it could be anything depending on your own moral code.
yes. Yep.
Could cause a loss of integrity.
Yeah.
What we know that moral code is, that's for everyone to find out. I don't know.
Yeah. We just I mean I feel like if I had like Jordan Peterson, or someone like Sam Harris to explain like what what the different things in like a job or like a social life or like a life in general that you would need to feel complete and wholeness and why some of these things might make you not feel that way. It might be explained better, but
I
yeah.
think social influence, cultural influence have the biggest pull on the individual. So, like, if you're surrounded by people all telling you the same thing to connect, you'll probably give in and do it
Mm,
more than you would talking yourself into it without influence, if that makes
mm.
sense. So, if you have a culture or a social influence around you, whose morals don't line up with yours, that would cause loss of integrity too from a group. Like
Yeah.
even that just goes into groupthink at the highest level, you know. So it's like, how do you know if you're doing your own thing or if you're just following the social norm?
Yeah. I have this question that I think is pretty interesting. And I think this is actually a part of the other podcast that I want to make, but I'll save that for a different announcement. But I'll ask the question. Okay. Put your ego aside. Put your ego aside. How many people would it take to tell you you're wrong about something you know is absolutely true until you start to believe it? Put your ego aside. How many people would it take to tell you you're wrong about something you know is absolutely true until you start to believe it?
For me, it's I think three.
Three? Holy fuck, Zach. I was expecting a lot more.
Well, what do you? I mean, like, I
I'm
guess.
talking
Well,
like
okay,
something
here's
like the
here's why I
sky
said
is
three.
blue. The sky is blue. And then someone comes up and they're like, no, Zach, the sky is purple.
And
How many?
the thing is, here's what I guess I didn't make clear. So, and I'm saying three is because, like, if you Noah told me, hey, it's actually purple, I'd be like, is that because you think it's purple or because it looks purple? And I'd be like, what the fuck? And then
Yeah.
I would go to the next, I would pick the next two people. I would be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to a doctor. And
Yeah.
if he's like, yeah, no, it's purple, I'd be like, all right, I'm colorblind. Fuck.
Yeah.
Why would I need to go to another person after that?
Well, okay.
Like that
How
was how
about
my brain thought. I was like,
I
okay, well, if
got
I have a
okay.
question, I'd go to experts. It'd probably take three of them for me to actually figure out the answer. And I would be like, I am wrong.
What about this one? 2 + 2 = 5. How many people like would it have to come up to you and tell you, hey Zach, you're wrong. 2 + 2 does not equal 4, equals 5. Until you're like, what the fuck? And you start going like, is everything just
If the first person could, I don't know. I don't know. Because if you just told me, but you didn't explain why, I'd never believe you. So hundreds, thousands of people. I'd be like, if you can't explain it, you're wrong.
that's okay. So I asked this question because I think it's like and Daniel, when I talked to him recently, he had a pretty interesting answer to it. He was like, if it was like 100 people I didn't know, and they just came up and said it, I'd be like, fuck off. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? But then if he like talked to his wife and he talked to like his mom and he talked to his, and they were like, yeah,
That's why I was thinking
two
three.
plus two equals five.
Yeah.
You like the people you care and trust. That's why it goes to show like someone could tell you a lot of facts. 100 people can tell you a lot of facts, but if your people you love and trust tell you the same facts, it's so crazy how much more impact it has. Like,
Well, that's probably the number one reason for failure is listening to your neighbors and family about business stuff. Is you believe
mm,
them, but they've never been in a situation, so you end up doing what they did, and you end up in their situation too. I think
yeah,
that's
which
what it
goes,
comes back to. You
yeah,
always
but
believe your trusted friends first. Yeah.
but who do you know how to like? I guess the only way you can trust someone is like because they say the best way to be successful is just to model someone else who's successful and do what they did. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because like they did it, so like the proof is in the pudding. But that's an interesting question because I know for a fact, and I'm so fucking stubborn. I'm so stubborn that 2 + 2 = 4. So it would take a lot of people for me.
But what
And
if
but
like
then
one mathematician explained it to you? You could be
how,
like,
but
okay.
like but there's no like I'm smart enough to know even if it was like Nobel Prize winning mathematician to be like, there's no way you can explain this that 2 + 2 = 5 because these are fucking numbers. You know what I mean? It'd be like, yeah, actually, after three, there's this other number called blip. 1, 2, 3, blip. Four. You know what I mean? Like, the
Well, here
fuck are
I'll
you?
even yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that'd be weird. I also for me, let's say I know that 2 + 2 is 4. People trying to convince me after the third one, I might just agree so that they leave me alone.
Dude, it's so funny. Me and Daniel said the same thing. We're
I
like,
would be like, yeah, you're
after the
right. Like I'm that guy who just says I agree, just so I don't have to
just to
talk to you
shut you the
anymore.
fuck
I
up.
don't
Yeah.
care. Like
For me, it would take me about like the 12th person. Daniel said it would take triple digits for him to just be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. 2 + 2 = 5. Fuck off. Like
mine's like I don't
he
care
said like
so much. Like
30. I
I don't
would
even
from
want 30 people to talk to me, dude.
yeah, I'm with you. The more I think about it, I'm like in my scenario, it's kind of like a fantasy. They're all lined up, they're all lined up. But now I'm like thinking about it as if like real life is happening, and I'm just going through my life, and like I'll go upstairs, and Danny's like, "Hey, 2 + 2 = 5." I'm like, okay. And then the next person, it's probably honestly, it's like seven people. 2 + 2 = 5. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah,
In
2
my
+ 2
mind,
= 5.
I'm like in my mind, I'm sitting in a classroom or professors like, yeah, 2 + 2 is 4, and everyone's like, yeah, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then one person's like, yeah, it is. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk to all 40
Sure.
of you.
Yeah,
Sure.
it is. Fuck it. Whatever.
Like just because their satisfaction of thinking that they got me is worth more to me, so they stop talking to me so I can just continue my life. Like I don't like it's like when in groups of people or a person in your friend group brings up something political and they want to convince everybody what they think to like what save the world or something. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you're not gonna change the whole world by arguing with us. Like we don't, it doesn't matter. Like
That's
that's how I feel. I'm like, yeah, you can change my mind. I'll agree with you, but now what? Like, what's your goal now? You know, like,
I think this is something I have to work on. Something that I really have to work on is a lot of times I get so heated like in debates that I do the exact opposite of what I actually want to occur. What I want to occur is to educate someone to hopefully change their mind about something.
right.
Or just rather to change their mind. And it's like I need to take that last part out. I don't need to change anyone's mind. I just need to inform people and hope that when they listen to it, they're a little more informed.
I
And
just, yeah.
because like, but like, here's some examples. You ever meet like really religious zealots who just say some off the wall crazy shit? And then on the flip side, you ever meet some like super liberal people that are like, they confuse like their opinions and their feelings with facts. And you're like, it's
Well,
not though.
not just liberal people, it's both spectrums, but the emotions are overtopping.
Well, I'm trying to give examples on
Where
both
I'm
sides.
from, it was the far, 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 far
Right.
rebel right
Yeah,
that
same.
were overly emotional and not.
But now where I'm like still because I've been around, I basically just lived in Marietta my whole life. It's both. I have
Oh yeah,
friends where they can say something to me. I'm like, you actually believe that? Like you actually think that like the Earth is 4,000 years old? Like for real? For real? Okay.
and
And
they're
then like
like,
on the
yes, 100%.
yeah, and then the other side they're like a if a woman changes into a man, that woman is really a man. Like really. I'm like, really? Like that's actually like, you know what I mean? Like, wait, like that's what you really think? Like, okay. I'm not saying I can't be respectful and call that person a dude now, but like biologically, like they having kids. Like ain't happening. Like, so you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, like it's pretty wild. And then I want to be like, well, here's some facts
But why do
about
you
like what
care?
I don't I because I
This
just
is what I'm bringing up. It's like, because
that's my issue. It's like, why do I care? I can't stand people, and this is it's on me, but I can't stand people going on spreading that same information, like potentially spreading that information to more people and making the world more dumb. Like
but the
I
thing
want the
is,
truth to be out, and because I think the
right?
truth is so important, and the more we come to the truth, this is why it's so integral to me. Is if we all got closer to the truth, we'd all get along better instead of like these create it's like why are we so divided? It's just like and then it's a lot of times it's like I create the division because I'm getting so upset that this person believes this. It's like I could just ask them about something we both agree on and forget about that shit.
I would, one thing I brought, this, this whole thought experiment brings up is if you have somebody, a religious zealot, thinks, I don't even know what you'd call it. Let's say they're like, yeah, the earth is only 4,000 years old. Okay. You
Yeah.
want to change their mind.
Yeah.
They want to change your mind.
Yeah.
Both of you just want to change each other's mind so that you fit in each other's fold
Boxes.
or group
Yeah.
or box, right? So
Yeah.
you're both trying to connect, but I think at one level you have to know that. And for me, if I'm in this situation, I do think about it differently than you. I'm like, hey, if this person hasn't learned how to learn, where they don't ask me why I think that and how I got to that, it's not worth the time. Because if they wanted to be the best version of them, they would want to know more information, like hands down, right? They would be like, well, why do you think this? Why do you think that? They're trying to learn something. If they're not, for me, it's already like it's a pointless conversation. Because if I'm not going to ask them why they think there's 4,000 years, they're not going to ask me why, whatever. So that's when I'm like, yeah, I agree, bro. It's fucking 4,000 years old. I'm with you.
I won't
Even
say
though I have done, I know it's like, do I really want to spend 3 hours of my life giving a lecture?
I won't agree. I'll just go, okay. Like if I'm tired, I'll just go, all right, that's what you think. Like, okay.
But it's like, hey, I don't know. It's
What
like,
if it's
well,
something? What about this, Zach? Because this is I had this conversation. This is very recently. I told you about it on the last time we talked about my therapist.
oh yeah, yeah.
What if it's about something that's actually going to endanger somebody? or like it's information. If you continuously spread this information, you like that whole group of people could potentially endanger a whole bunch of kids.
I think you
You
get one shot where it's like, hey, look, what you're saying, I hear you, but it also brings up red alarms, and I need you to hear what I think so that you can kind of better educate others in the future. Because
or just say, hear what I have to say, so that way, hopefully, you can just be a little more
taking out
informed.
all of it,
Yeah,
like I think, yeah, they deserve that. I
that's
think
that's how I have to end things. Is like I don't need to change anyone's mind, and I'm working on that. Like, but my initial thing is like, oh God, like people are gonna continue believing this poor person and whatever. But it's like, what am I gonna fucking go to every person and try to make them think how I think? So I just all I need to do is go. Here's the information that I've had the, like
and that's
pleasure
how
of.
our podcast works. We're like, here's the information,
Do
guys.
it.
Like,
Do with it what you want.
yeah, like, which is hilarious, which I can bring up now. We got a bad review. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have one bad review, and I think it's hilarious. But the thing is,
Dude,
as
that was
far
just
as like,
AI. It was just AI. It wasn't. It was just we just got shadow banned. It was part of Dr. Robert Epstein talking about Google and stuff.
yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that we were shadow banned, but um, fucking
What did the
okay,
review
here's what it
say?
says. Here it is. Yeah, so title says it all. Rather than use majority consensus that science is known for, two armchair experts cherry pick narratives to progress the narrative. So let me rewind and explain this. And here's how this is helpful. So if Joe Rogan has a conversation with a Brett Weinstein, right, about it's something he's an expert in, and they talk for 3 hours of, and by the way, he's been on Joe Rogan's show like 4 times or something like that.
Who?
Brett Weinstein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you got, which we're saying, our podcast is like, hey, we listened to it, we took notes. It's 3 hours long, dude. They talk about so much stuff, and
Yeah.
unless you got 3 hours to sit there and listen, you're not going to capture it all, anyways. I listened to it. I'm a huge fan. I threw my support, and I think every listener should too.
Yeah.
But the reason we create our podcast is not everyone does, and they're just like, dude, like I can't listen to that for 3 hours. What happened in 15 minutes? And what we say happened did happen. More happened than that. But I'm encouraging you to go listen to the whole thing, which brings it back to armchair experts. It's like, no, we took an expert and we filed it down to the tiniest stuff. We never said we were.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what he said. And then we'll go and then we'll go to do something else. It's like, well, this is what he said. It's like, but you got to get the best of both of it. And all we have is, okay, I've listened, I guaranteed to anybody I know, and for sure is like, I listen to way more of the stuff than the next person. Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably 300 hours deep in podcast as a listener this year on long form conversations, just because it's interesting, it's
Yeah.
intriguing. I learn a lot. I like Audible books. I
Dude,
learn audibly, and that's
yeah.
just what I'm doing. So I can speak on anything I've heard, which is a lot, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to say I'm the armchair expert. Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Well,
it's
we
to help
are
people.
yeah, 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 yeah. I I agree with that. Also, just so the audience knows, this is one thing they don't even know that we struggle with, but like me and you will have we'll have like intense arguments about like what a person says, and then we might disagree with it, but we just go, but that's what they said, so we inevitably put it
Yeah,
in.
so we'll
You know what
just
I mean?
say it.
Like we might go like, no, that can't be right, and then but it's like, but that's what they said, and we're not covering what we said, so we put that shit in there. And then this is what this rant is for: is to be like, well, I don't really know, like I believe that shit, you know?
Yeah, and we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like taking all of it, putting it on a wall, and dissecting it all, taking and figuring out, hey, what's
And
the
another
closest
and
to.
another element of it too is like when we cover a podcast that's a little bit older, and then a podcast that comes out later that might be on the same subject, and we go like, well, yeah, that's from that podcast, but like we're not covering that podcast. We'll cover that podcast when we get there. This is the information that was there for this time. And
And I
then
want
like,
more of those. I want some to be opposite, which we haven't picked any that are.
yeah, that's a hard one to deal with too. So like I will say sometimes like if we know it's like completely new evidence now of something, then yeah, we're just gonna leave that fact out because it's like why inform the audience of something that's not updated? Let's say there was like 3 months ago, there was like, we're almost at a breakthrough in nuclear energy. And then we cover one like now that it's like, we had the breakthrough in nuclear energy. We're not going to go like, hey, they're close to, you know what I'm saying? Um,
But we still
I
put it on them. It's like, dude, it's Cliff Notes audibly. Just look at it like that. It's like if we're
yeah,
doing a movie, it'd
yeah,
be the same thing. We'd watch the whole movie, we'd take a notes, we'd talk about it for 15 minutes, and that's it.
yeah.
But if you're mad, go watch the movie. The whole
I want
thing.
to, I want to switch gears and then talk about, because we can get to one of the ones we disagree on, but I want to talk about the Robert Epstein one, the guy, like the Google guy. Um, talk about the Big Chew in there. So I'll start with a kind of reverse Big Chew, but he's talked about this book, Future Crimes. It's a book about crimes that are done with technology. So, for instance, he talks about the ability for government to like hack your car and have you swerve into oncoming traffic, or just cut your brakes off, or have your car speed up and like hit a tree, hack into a hospital computer and change like the dosages for medication and kill someone just through the IV.
And this is from our episode
13.
13. Yeah, that shit is
It's
creepy. But
like
it's been in every movie and every spy movie.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I've seen that in a spy movie where they hack the dosage of medication in someone's IV, because that's like that's it is a computer, and that's totally plausible. And same with like any car. I'm pretty sure from 2013 and up has the same chip in it. Like for that's why like they had that big chip shortage. Like it's for
And
GPS, and I think it's for other, or not GPS, but like for, there's a certain chip that every basically 2013 model and up has, and I forgot what it was for, but that's why, like, so if that's in there, that means it has like the same back end window that you can go in and like hack, and that's why most likely can get in. Also, like, should we mention the other Big Chew in here, or like what happened to him, like his wife?
well, yeah, before we get into that, so two movies, Too Fast, Too Furious. I forget which one. There was a whole scene of they were hacking all the cars to like drive off the parking decks into the street and
Oh
chase them. You
yeah,
remember that?
yeah,
So that's where they were hacking all the cars, right?
yeah.
Um, NCIS has an episode where Dude Man gets killed by hacking
Into the
their
IV, like the,
IV, the medication, and it was just done remotely.
ugh,
Also, there was another episode where they're I forget what you get, a heart stent or something. You get like a thing
yeah.
that beats for your heart. Hacked that shit, killed somebody.
Dude, that just reminded me of something completely off topic, but like I'm pretty sure in the 70s they came up with a heart attack gun.
Guess what? We can find
Bro,
out.
so that way you could just like, so let's say there's like a political leader giving a talk and you just walk up and like and just like just
Well, the thing
heart
is,
burst, and no one knows like, oh, he just died of a heart attack.
yeah, the
Like,
CIA's secret heart attack gun. I That makes sense though. That sounds easy. You just shoot some I would just assume
like
some audio waves that
that's what I
vibrate
was saying. Like some type
shit.
of like sound resonance where just like his heart pops.
Theirs was a poison dart that causes heart attack.
Poison darts are like, it's like, okay, that one you're gonna see like, okay, he
But
was
you can do that.
poisoned.
You can do that even if like thousands of years ago. You could just like, wipe down a poison dart frog, shoot somebody with it, it gives them a heart attack.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for a while. But if it was off sound
Well, dude, when you like, I'm watching Breaking
first,
Bad right now, and one of the things that like they never actually successfully pulled it off, but it's a way to kill somebody, is like you get these ricin beans, like rice, not rice and
ricin
beans,
poison
but ricin, yeah, and like when you give it to someone, they get really sick, and after 3 days they die. So that way it's like
way
really,
later.
yeah. So that way you put it on someone, you're like, yeah, he'll be dead in 3 days. Like when you think of all the ways that you can kill someone, it's like, and get away with it, it's that's so scary. I would be so terrified as like a
And then you
political leader.
have, dude, didn't you have that secret organization that's PSYOPs, psychological warfare?
Mhm.
And so what they do is, let's say that they have a target, and this somebody needs, to die. They fuck with them so much they commit suicide. So, for example, they switch out their medication and they up it with like depressants, and then they put a speaker in your vent, and at night play
You
some
just hear
fucking
voices and
crazy
shit.
voices and shit.
Oh my god, dude.
So they
Dude.
med you up, play voices. Let's say they switch out your nutrition, your vitamins, like so you're constantly being dehydrated, so your brain starts hallucinating anyways. Like
Oh my god.
all psyops where you're untouched, but you just let this person go crazy for months,
Oh my god, dude. That's the
sending
worst.
them
That
messages, having AIs and them emails. send them fake videos of like their wife cheating on. Like you literally just fuck with them until they call it quits. That
That's
is
the devil.
scary.
That's the dude. That's fucking Satan to do that to something like, oh my, another
That's
way
fucked up.
that I think would be like just like the worst thing you could possibly do to me. Like I would rather die 3 times of like painful deaths is just if you gave me like 600 doses of acid and just left me like in a room. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude,
Yeah.
imagine that. Imagine being like, yeah, here, like, hey, enjoy your tea, Senator. And then like the tea, like you like, and then you just or you force a vial of acid down someone's throat. Like they're just gone. Like good luck. Good luck returning.
Jesus.
You know. Anyway, we took a dark turn there, listeners.
Dark turn, everybody. Dark turn. Here's even more darker. And I think that big chew from 2019 about this guy's wife, it needs to be heard again. And I hope this gets figured out. And hopefully we don't get targeted by what
Yeah.
we just said. But in 2019, Dr. Epstein
Robert Epstein, the guy we're talking about, the Google guy.
gave a private briefing for a state's attorney general. After the talk was over, he was in the waiting room, and one of the attorney generals came up to him and said, I hate to tell you this, but I think you're going to die in an accident in the next few months. Holy
What?
shit. Now, he didn't die, but his wife passed away in an accident a few months after that.
Died. She died. She didn't pass away. She died. She died on impact.
Yeah.
So Dr.
I didn't want to
Epstein
say the word died, but she died, passed away.
said he believes the guy said this to him because he had pissed off a lot of people in power at this meeting. His wife, quote, quote, lost control of her pickup truck and was T-boned by a massive truck carrying cement. Get this, the truck was never looked over forensically, like the wife's truck. And after it was totaled, he was told it was sold to someone in Mexico for parts.
Dude, so
Like that
fucking sketchy.
is,
And that to me, if I don't know, how I feel is different. Emotion is, logic lows, emotions high, right?
yeah,
But that just makes you think like Law Abiding Citizen. You ever see that movie?
love that movie. Seen that movie so
Fucking
many
love
times.
that movie. So his wife gets killed right in front of him. Government, fails him, and then he murders everyone. This is how these things happen, dude.
Bro, if a dude came up and said that to me, first of all, I go find that dude. I go find that dude, and then I would kill his wife.
Oh my god.
And then I would kill him, and then I'd probably kill myself because it's all over. But I'm
Dude.
dark. I'm dark. But dude, like if a motherfucker came up to me and was like, I think you're gonna, hey, I hate to tell you this, I think you're gonna die in a couple months, and then
I
my
would be
wife
like,
dies,
oh my god.
and then my wife dies a couple months later, and then after that, like, okay, that could happen, right? But then after that, they never checked, like his truck gets chopped up and sent to parts in Mexico. Like, what the I'd be like, like you clearly killed my wife.
And guys, this is the person who tracks Google. They literally
Yeah.
stopped, his company stopped Google from interfering with the election in our state of Georgia. And in the
Yes.
Georgia state election, they were able to keep Google out of it.
So basically, like Robert Epstein, I forget how we pronounce his last name, but he kept on putting out information to the public, like, "Hey, did you know Google was Hillary Clinton's biggest donor in 2016? Like, hey, did you know that, what's going on with algorithms? Did you know, during Hillary's election campaign for president, it was impossible to find negative search suggestions on her? Like, he would share all this stuff to the public." And so like they don't like that, like that's like
The
that
point of,
doesn't.
it's like the point of the internet. One thing that's really cool is it's really good against propaganda because you should be able to hear from everything. But then when you have a company that large that starts controlling the narrative again, that's when it gets scary. He's calling them out.
Yeah, yeah. He's calling him out and showing like what's going on.
Which goes even fuck. If you want to bring up the next thing, what do you think? We're both citizens, right? What do you think about the fact that Democratic Party refuses to hold a debate? Did you know this?
Um, they refuse to hold a debate for what? What do you mean? Because they do have democratic debates, like with their own.
They're not letting anybody debate Biden
Oh, that
for the
thing coming
first
up.
time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I mean,
I
is
don't know
it?
if it's the first time
Could,
ever, but
can it?
dude,
Can it be more obvious? It's like,
bro, that is so scary. So if we have the oldest president ever known to live ever, right, is president. Their vice president is also has lower ratings than they do, and you're not allowed to debate him. We can't send a better candidate against him. They're just like
yeah.
stonewalling it. Does that not freak? I mean, I'm asking you. Does that freak you out? Does that make
A
your little
thousand.
tinfoil hat go up? Like,
I
what is
mean,
going
yeah,
on?
dude, absolutely. I mean,
It's saying, "Oh, hey, no free
Biden is a
speech."
Biden's a joke, dude. And like Democrats, liberals know this. I don't know a single person who's like really liberal. Like they have their liberal opinions, but none of them are like Biden's the best. None of them. And like I know it's a small sample size, and I'm sure there's some
Just
fucking
care.
diehard Bidens out there. But for the most part, like you open your fucking eyes. The dude can't finish sentences. He's super old and out of touch. Like, uh,
I'm for the JFK guy.
yeah, Robert F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Um,
RFK.
RFK. What did I
We'll
say?
look into it. We won't get into it now, but look into it. But they won't let him debate. He's a Democrat, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Bro. Oh my God.
it
That's
would
probably
be.
why they won't let him debate. He'll just rip Biden apart with his raspy voice. He'll still win.
Yeah, this
Super
like his
sketch, man.
voice. His voice is definitely the thing. That's if well, I mean, even if he could, if he had a good voice,
The
like
thing is,
his.
because of that, he has to be short and sweet because he can't talk long and he has to say what he needs to say. And I appreciate that. There's
Well,
not a
apparently
lot of
he like because
filler.
there's a you can see him talking for like 2 hours and
You can
like
talk. Yeah.
it's not even like just so everyone knows. Apparently he has that voice thing because of an adverse effect from a vaccine.
The COVID
Um,
vaccine.
yeah. So
Um,
like,
I don't know if I'm spreading this, but is what happened to Jamie Foxx. What's going on with him?
oh, I heard didn't he have a stroke?
Bro, I'm a huge Jamie Foxx fan,
I
so
love
this
Jamie
really
Foxx.
fucking pisses me off.
What happened? Like, did he have a stroke?
Everything we know so far.
Paralyzed and blind from blood clot in his brain after receiving what? After receiving what? After receiving
And it
COVID-19 vaccines, source claims. Now, this is from OK magazine. So I don't.
I'm on all right, cool.
Bro. So Jamie Foxx is like not
I think
like
I don't this is what's
he's
so scary, guys, is I don't know what's real. Okay. Fucking I don't know. But we got CNN, we got Fox
dude.
News. They're both agreeing on this. So sure.
I yeah, when's that?
Um,
Jamie Foxx hasn't been in something in a little bit. I miss seeing him on the screen, man.
yeah,
I
he
did
just
like
released
it's
a new movie on Netflix with Snoop Dogg, bro. It's about killing fucking zombies and it's hilarious. Or
oh no
vampires. Vampires.
no shit. Okay, I gotta see that.
It's good.
Dude, Snoop Dogg, I swear, is the most he's in everything. He's in everything. That dude could
Could
that
be in
dude could
everything.
that dude could start a tampon company and it would sell. You know what I mean? He'd be like, Snoop plugs you up, babe. Snoop plugs you up, bitch.
Right.
What are you listening to? What was that?
Um, it just turned on. I opened up Netflix to see what the name of that movie is. It's called Day Shift. Bro, I am
Oh, I
only
saw Day Shift. I saw Day Shift.
that's I think the newest thing he was in, and that was a
That's right.
year
That
ago, right?
yeah, that was I watched that. I liked it. It was solid.
Yeah, it has like Franco's brother in it.
Yeah. Um
Fuck, man. I don't like that. Well, anyways, if it traces back to
the
the
vaccine.
vaccine, that's gonna be a big wake up call to everybody, which
Oh
fucking
shit.
sucks.
That's a really good segue into this one. Um, all right. I want to mention this is from Brett Weinstein. All right. So,
Episode 14.
episode 14. Brett Weinstein says, and there's a couple of big chews. We actually had like 4 big chews here. Most people in the US got the mRNA shots, and those shots appear to increase your risk of death, not decrease it. He says he finds that extremely alarming, and even more alarming is the fact that there doesn't seem to be a response from the public to that fact. That is okay. Just to recap in simpler words, Brett says if you got the vaccines from the mRNA vaccines, you're more likely to die than not. They're not preventing deaths.
And this is
Jesus.
it's not saying from COVID, it's just deaths in general because of the blood
Of
clots, the heart stuff, and just they didn't get to measure it over time. We don't know the effects long term. So you add that in and it's just kind of sketchy.
and I think we should mention his a little bit of his like background. Evolutionary biologist, author. He has a background in immunology and bat biology. If there's anyone to talk about this shit,
Yeah,
it's it's
definitely. It
fuck
was like, yeah,
it's
that's not from a bat, bro. We made that
yeah
literally.
yeah.
It is interesting. Again, I encourage everybody to go listen to the whole thing. It's hard. If you listen to that thing, you'll realize how hard it was to put in 15 minutes. It's
Y-
a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's so much.
Yeah. We almost did a two-parter on that one.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna end up with that episode being like somewhere in the 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. It ended up
Yeah.
being longer. We had it as a two-parter. We put it in a one, but it was difficult.
It was difficult. There's some other big shoes in there. I mean, yeah.
I think those really nail it. I mean, it kind of tied in.
Yeah. Which one? You want to talk about more of the big shoes or go on to Mr. Peter Zahan?
Um, hmm. Yeah. So Peter Zahan,
Zahan.
Zahan, baby. Yeah, that was episode 15. Um,
This one was crazy too. Highly recommend. I mean, well, we always say it. Listen to all of them if you can, or listen to our thing. But this one was like it was so freaky because the way Peter speaks is like as if
he's
he could see
scared.
the is that I know it's as if he can.
He reminded me of how Yomi Park spoke. You know how like her voice sounds like she's just been through a lot and scared, but I know it's like foreign. But
Really
when she was talking to Joe Rogan, it sounded like she was always
that
scared or
that
upset.
I got that from you
But
and
when
me.
Peter in his intro, you could hear it. We even played the clip in our podcast if you play it again, but he's like, this is the most amount of suffering to the most amount of income we've or money we've ever had ever in human
You're
history.
thinking of a different guy. Peter Zahan is the global collapse.
Oh,
Siddharth
I'm thinking of
is
Siddharth.
I because I'm about to say I was
No,
about to
you're
say
right. Yeah,
Peter
Siddharth.
Zahan's the exact opposite. He was like so matter of fact and so like confident in everything he was saying.
You're right.
Siddharth is
Siddharth is the
definitely the extreme.
cobalt. Their voices, Siddharth and Yomi Park, very similar in how they spoke.
Yeah.
Very opposite with Peter, for
Yeah,
sure.
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter. By the way, just to clarify, Peter is the economic development guy. He's the one that compares like historical trends and demography and geography as nations, and then he fills in the blanks and whatnot. He was like the most matter of fact guy that I've ever heard on Joe Rogan's podcast. It was like, this is what's happening. Here's when it's going to happen. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's what's most likely going to happen from those reactions, or how our reactions to what
And
those things.
it was good though, because he answered Joe's like, okay, explain it. And then he does. Like it didn't really
Yeah,
leave a lot of gaps. And I
no, yeah.
like that.
Anytime Joe was like pushed and like was like, well, but what about this? He's like, well, it's actually because of this. Well, what about this? Oh, it's because of this. It's like, this is
You're
why,
like,
this is why,
fuck.
this is why. Um, this one was I thought like listening to this one, my jaw was open a lot. There's a couple of podcasts when I listened to where I'm like, holy shit. Yon Me was like that. I mean, most of the stuff we cover is because we are like when we're listening to it, like what? But yeah, here's one in the nutshell. So like Peter talks about his book is called The End of the World as We Know It, the mapping of the global was it the I just this off the top of my head, what was it? End of the world is just the beginning, mapping the collapse of globalization, mapping the collapse of globalization. The big chew on that one. So Peter says that the end of the world we understand is because we are about to experience the largest demographic collapse ever. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. This would be worse than the Black Plague in terms of deaths, just from people aging. So, like energy and food scarcity will only speed that up. Peter predicts in the next 10 years, there will come a time where the world literally has to choose where soil is allocated, aka where food will be grown and who will be the ones who get to eat that food.
So we're about to have World Hunger Games. And
Yeah.
this is kind of dark, but it is funny to me. So America is pretty much that capital from the Hunger Games. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if you look at right now how we look, how we dress, what we're putting out, we're gonna look like the Capitol in Hunger Games. And I'm sorry, but it's also because we're producing a lot of food.
Yeah. I
We
mean, who
we,
knows?
we
Maybe,
produce the most food, so we're sending it out. And I'm just saying
dude,
that's how those things happen,
I
man.
just thought about what you said, and it makes even more sense that we could be put into districts when that happens, like poor district, rich district. Because remember how there was like 12 districts, and she came from like the poorest one.
I think the districts would be country sized, not state sized, if that makes sense. I don't see America be having districts. I see somebody deciding the districts in the world. Like, for example, hey, this part of the world is solar. This part of the
Oh
world grows
wow!
cows. This part of the world produces rice. Like, they might be like, okay, India, your district 7, because they're the number one producer of rice.
Do you know
Hey,
what? Like, imagine how many people like you would literally see on the coasts. You would just see like boats and boats and boats of people trying to leave their country to get over here for food. And then what would it be? Would it just be
if
like a
there is food.
massacre of us just being like, we don't have enough?
Well,
What
no,
would it be?
What Peter's saying is he didn't say that we'd run out of food. He's just saying it'd be allocated sourcefully.
No, but I'm saying America has the food. We're the number one exporter of food. So when other countries start starving, where do they go? They go to the source of food. And I know he did. This is just me
I
off the
don't know if
cuff.
the citizens would know that per se, but yeah, it is off. Okay, I hear you.
What I'm saying is, I mean, I'm just having some fun here. But like, let's say that the impacts start showing up, and they're like, and then China's like, hey, yeah,
You
we're
have to
gonna have to start.
trade with us as a government. I mean, that's
It could be that.
we are the thing is from our boats and boats of borders, like it's hard to go across the Pacific and the Atlantic if you're the starving individual. Like that's a big trip you're probably not going to take. But coming from the borders, you're definitely going to do that
The borders for
for
sure.
sure.
But
If we're the only ones with
Canada is one of the
food,
leading producers in soil, which we covered in this one too. So they got food as well because
and
they have.
Mexico. So we are their top two trading partners, Canada and Mexico,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
North America
Is
is
stacked.
set. We're set. We're gonna be all right.
Number one district. It sounds so bad, but it's true.
America, fuck yeah,
Gonna take my fucking world, yeah.
yeah.
Um, but we are producing a lot, and I think it would just encourage other people. They're gonna have to trade. So basically, India, China, whoever, whatever country, they're gonna have to be like, hey, we don't have this. We need this. Here's what we can send you. You guys send it back, and there's gonna have to be allocated sources of products and goods spread around the world. I mean, that's what he says,
Yeah,
which makes sense.
that one was freaky.
I liked it. It's cool,
I love
but
it. Yeah, that was a really good one. Go listen to our
it is
podcast.
sad that because we talked about this, that just over the past 2 years of a year before we started the podcast, a year of doing it now, and because we keep ending up on covering stuff about China.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm
China.
like,
Well,
God, dude.
here's the deal. We don't keep ending up covering stuff on China. We keep covering stuff, and China's involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. China's involved. We don't mean for it to happen. It fucking happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not mean Chinese individuals. We're mostly talking about the CCP,
Chinese government.
and they're suppressing their people right now, so that they agree with us. They don't like it.
Yeah. I love Chinese people. I don't like the Chinese government. That
They
shit's
don't either.
fucked.
They
Yeah.
tried to riot. They don't have guns, just so you know. So they just shut down the city and just pushed everyone back aside and arrested the leaders. I mean, they literally can't stand up for their against their own government. Which in America we can. We can like storm the Capitol if we want.
Dude, that storm the Capitol. Dude, it's so crazy what happened. Like, I mean, yeah, and also like
I mean, they got
you
so
weren't thinking,
bad.
but the people that stormed the Capitol and then got caught and like they're serving like huge sentences in prison. It's like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah, yeah.
fuck did you think?
I
That's
exactly,
that's the Capitol, you dipshit. Like, what the
exactly.
fuck are you
But
thinking?
it is funny.
It is funny. It's for sure fun. Like, especially the people that were just like, I'm doing it for a goof. It's America. They just run in like, America, yeah, fuck it. I'm just running in. And they're
But
like,
that's the thing. I mean, but there's roots here. It's like the Boston Tea Party.
yeah.
That's what it made me feel like. It made me remember the Boston Tea Party as we're told as children. We don't know how much of the story is true, but yeah, they dumped all the tea into the ports, and they were like, "America." They all had the fucking the wolf head thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. But they dressed up and they had a tea party. They dumped the tea, and they were like, "Fuck you, Britons. You can't make us
Yeah.
do shit."
You know what I hate? I hate to think that if I was like right around the Capitol and there was a bunch of people like going in, that I might have been like, yeah, you know, like
I feel like it would have been easy. You're like, I feel like if you were, which happened to a lot of people, they were just out there and they're like, wait, we're going to the Capitol.
like, all right,
You would have been like, all right.
like, this is something kind of fun. I would have looked at it like, all right, I'll just be a part of something, or maybe I
But
would have been,
but
I
they
don't know,
did release all the footage of the security walking them through, letting them take pictures and all this stuff. That did kind of happen, which
which is
is
like,
yeah.
what's going on there?
Look into it, but that happened this year. They released that information.
Because groupthink is a very, very strong and real
Very easy.
thing. And I would like to think, I would like to think that I could in the moment be like, that seems stupid and dangerous. but I also am pretty spontaneous, so I might have just been like, yeah, let's
We've
go to
both done this.
Capitol.
I've done it. I mean, even in our trip in Olean, I remember everyone was like, there's like 50 people. We're in the airport. Nobody knows where to go. We're supposed to go somewhere for a company. Any person can do this. You can literally just like, hey, everybody, let's go this way. And everyone will blindly go that way.
Yeah.
That's the easiest example. If I was out there at the Capitol, I'm like, bro, it's open. Letting us take pictures. Let's go. You would have been
Yeah.
like, all
All
right.
right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how many times in our experience with like travel trips on from with our company, how many times like I just led people into
Chaos.
well, chaos, but a lot of times I led people some fun ass times. I was like,
Chaos.
yeah, come on this way.
It's very
Let's
easy.
go.
So group three is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
For the whole like connection.
I'm with you though. So like you said Yan Me and Siddharth Kara, like I 100% agree. They
Which we can go into Sidaris. His was 16 anyways.
yeah, episode
Um,
16.
this is about the cobalt mining in the Congo,
Yeah, this one was
and
sad.
pretty
It
weird.
was it was sad because Siddharth was so sad. Like you could tell, just like as he's covering, he's like, "This fucking sucks."
The way he talked, he's like he can't believe it's happening and still happening at
Yeah,
the same time. And he's like, I don't know what to do besides here's pictures, here's video. I'm writing a book on it. I'm on Joe Rogan talking about it. I'll do other podcasts and I'm up to talk. He literally was like, I'll talk to any CEO about this and we got to figure this out. And no one, I don't know if anyone's reached out to him yet. I'm not in, but
yeah.
I
And
don't
let's
get how you
say,
could hear that and not be like,
yeah. So let's say that you guys haven't listened to number 16. Hopefully you will, but basically at the bottom of every like computer, cell phone, electric vehicle, anything that I mean, there's so many other things like video game, like console, there's most likely cobalt in it. And at the bottom of that, of like where they get that cobalt is from, it's like most likely from the Congo. I think like 90% of it is from the Congo. And that's all slave labor. So there's like, I mean, to paint like a graphic for you, he would go to these sites and he would see like mothers with like infants strapped to their backs, like with, and they have like mining picks and they don't have any like protective equipment and they're mining like for cobalt and like barely surviving, maybe dying like in the cobalt. Lots of deaths would happen and like can't like they're getting paid $1 a day. So it's just like slave labor. It's messed up.
no electricity. And the thing is, like the people in the Congo, that's where they're from. The companies running this operation,
Chinese.
Chinese business owners bought I am assuming the land in there, or they got the rights to it,
Yeah.
whatever. They're running the show. Last American Company was in there in the early 2000s, I think before 2010 is what he said. And the problem
Yeah.
with that is if you don't have American companies involved, because we have to have like all of those guidelines and treating people right,
Regulations.
regulations. I know people like shit on America too, but the fact is we have those regulations that you can't break, which
The
if
Chinese
it's
can.
like if that quarry is right next to the Chinese one, all those workers are going to go want to work for the American side.
American one.
But
Yeah.
they whoever the Americans were, they sold the property there, and now it's just a giant slave labor. Instead of having the tents outside their skyscrapers for people who commit suicide, they're just in the ground.
Yeah. Just like burying them
Fuck, dude.
from what they dig up. Um, and also I know that painted a really negative picture on China, and it is like that they're like really at fault. But also we keep on buying. America keeps on buying all this cobalt, so it's like we're responsible for it too. If there was no buyer, then there'd be no
There's also nowhere
supplier.
to get it, so it's kind of like what do you call it? Bottleneck.
Yeah,
So what do
it's
you
like
do
it
if this
ends
is the
there.
yeah, it's like, hey, this is the spot in the world. I guess find another cobalt production spot, but that's the spot. It's owned by one group. There's a
Yeah.
monopoly on cobalt mining, at least on the large scale. Not all of it, but
Well, I think Siddharth, like first of all, getting the message out there is important because then people can make enough outrage. That's what we said at the end of our podcast. Like, hey, we hope this message gets to you and it creates enough like outrage so that we can do something about it. And one of the things he said is like, what Apple makes in a day could put a really solid dent into like better, suitable conditions for people in the
yeah, like
Congo.
send them helmets, send them electricity.
Send them a better wage.
Yeah, that's
um,
true.
Yeah, and basically our big shoe. Just like, I'm not even gonna read the whole thing, but to summarize it, there's like EVs are like coming out even more. They're like they have tons of cobalt in them. So like your phone has like I think like close to like 10 grams, and then EVs on average have like 1,000. or sorry, 10 kilograms. So that's 1,000 times more cobalt in it. And because EVs are being like, there's a big production increase, like they want more EVs. There's really not an end in sight of like this cobalt going away. Also, not to mention all the iPhones and all the laptops that you
Like the
have, like
need for that material.
the
And
need
then
for that. Yeah.
we would go into, hey, how do you fix it? And then what's his face? Bjorn would be like, invest in innovation. I was like,
Yeah.
find a way around cobalt. That's the fastest way. Instead of improving, just innovate.
Yeah.
Which he
Yeah.
may have a point.
Well, lithium ion batteries are like they're looking into that. And we mentioned in that podcast, like half of Tesla's cars that came out of production last quarter were cobalt free. So like
Yeah, they're making a move, which
they're
makes
making
sense.
it's like you can do it. Like, so
They would
that's
be the
good.
first to do it, I guess. Or the other companies, I don't know.
Apple hasn't said shit.
They're
You
not
know,
going to.
I hope they do. They might. Apple's pretty progressive. Hey man, to give Apple credit, I know there's a lot of shady shit, but to give Apple credit, remember that that thing you always see in your iPhone that says like allow to track or not allow.
Oh yeah, Apple does not like people tracking people. Like
So
they
like, hey,
don't
that
like that.
that
Yeah.
was a move for the positive.
Yeah, the
You
Apple
know,
privacy policies and the blocks they have on their phone for like a bunch of shit's pretty positive for the individual's privacy.
so maybe they
But
get
they have it. So but
and,
the
and
thing
they
is
they
they have
also
it.
they also claim to be very woke. So it's like, all right, well then wake the fuck up and realize that your shit ends in slave labor. Let's get rid of that. Um, so hopefully I mean, you can only spread it more. This podcast will probably reach 15 people. but
Yeah,
when
come
we,
on, Apple.
but when we get huge, when this podcast is big, hopefully, and
Well, we
obviously,
talk about that, but for those lists, we're in the top 10%.
oh, that's right. That's right. We
I
are in the
don't know
top
about
10% of
you.
podcasts.
I don't know how, like, that's the thing. It's like, how do you measure what's big? And it's like, I don't know.
Listeners.
But
It's your
you look at
listeners.
listeners, but it's like, oh, these are the numbers. Okay, how's that compared to everyone else? Well, compared to everyone else, like, I'm proud
Well,
to be like, yeah, we're top 10%. That's cool. That's pretty
yeah.
exciting for working like we are. It's something that we like to do anyways.
Yeah, no, yeah. I would do we do this like basically for free. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy getting this information out. And I will say Siddharth's podcast with Joe did make a difference. Not only did like on average 11 or 12 million people listen to that, it got covered on Fox News, which is a pretty big source. And like someone somewhere, including Siddharth, is still doing something about it. And
And
others
his
are
book
probably
is selling
his
a
book is
Cobalt
selling.
Red. So yeah, it does do a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And we're
So
just kind of adding to it.
yeah, hopefully in a couple of years, like there's not going to be any more mining there, or like something will change, better conditions.
I don't
Um,
know what they're gonna. Maybe they'll invest in Arundel Carlson's mining techniques of humming it using sound, like sitting there
yeah,
above everything and humming, and then all of the cobalt just comes out of the ground. No more slave labor.
yeah, that'd be cool. They just teach everyone there how to hum,
Yeah,
and
like
then
the Gordon
they pay
dance.
them like $15 an hour to hum. They're like, all right, if you guys do this in is it tandem? Is that what it means to do it together?
In tandem, yeah,
Yeah.
to do together,
Um,
like tandem jumping.
yeah. We covered, so the last three we covered were was Jimmy Corsetti and Ben Van Kirkwick on Rogan. We covered
Before we get into that, I'm gonna pee.
okay.
And we're back.
Zach had to go take a piss.
Yeah, it was weird. I was holding it for a while. Makes sense. Gotta stay
Nice.
hydrated there, folks.
Yeah. Keep your
Um,
hydration up.
but the next thing we're getting into, which is a good stopping point, is shit. The Eye of the Sahara. We basically had two podcasts that overlap a little bit with four people: Jimmy Corsetti, Ben Van Kirkwick, Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson, and this all surrounds, which is super interesting to me. I don't know how everyone feels, but I'm just like so blown away and curious about all the new stuff we get information on. And that's why I like it from four different people. There's even more out there, but it's really cool. So the first thing I'll say is the Eye of the Sahara. So in our original podcast, our 15-minute breakdown, we did not do it on video. So we couldn't just sit there and show you guys this. You'd have to go look for it yourself. Is am I sharing the right screen? Yeah. So no, you can see this now, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So Here's what's cool. So I love Google Earth, okay? You can learn so much more now from Google Earth, and I love that you can see this. So if you just zoom in a little bit, so you have Mauritania here, right? It was once the world's richest country from gold. Um, Very interesting. And then you
Mansa
see all,
Musa. Mansa Musa was the guy.
but just look at this. So what does these like waves look like all through here? Like literally coming from the mountains up in here, just straight across.
It looks like water.
This is what they were talking about for a mass portion. And by the way, I believe that from here to here is either 200 miles or 400 miles inland. Okay. And so right here, if you zoom in even more, you have the Eye of the Sahara right in this giant cavern. And this thing looks wild.
So cool looking.
And so what they're saying is this white stuff is salt.
It's a lot of salt.
Right. And I wish I could change as far as like how big it is. Do you remember how big it is?
It's pretty big. I mean, like when you
There we
zoomed
go.
out, it's visible from space.
So you can select a starting point. It's in kilometers. Let's change that to
So it's about like
miles.
six. Oh yeah, that's right.
21
Less
miles
across.
across. So that's this is what would be no okay. This is Jimmy Corsetti's guess at what points to Atlantis most likely. And I did sit through the 7 hour presentation that Randall Carlson did about Atlantis in terms of perspective of Plato's story. So I guess I could back out and explain that for a second because it takes like 2 seconds. So here's what it is. Wish I could zoom out faster. Jesus. Okay, so up here, basically the story of Plato, talking about what Solon's story of meeting the Egyptian priest, says that Atlantis is actually straight out from Gibraltar, so right here, into the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere out here. Pretty much. And to me, what that sounds like is probably a port city that is part of Atlantis, just like how Britain has colonies all over the world. To me, I don't know. There was land here that's now covered up, so the sea level did rise like 400 feet, so there is land. But this way more fits the picture of like the rings with the water, a capital city that was covered by water with an opening to the sea of the south, as more of like the size of a capital that could have a great location. And we can't really do that much research out here. I mean, it's just hard enough to get to, but just look at this thing. I mean, it
Yeah,
looks
that's one of the things they
crazy.
talked about. There's like mines out there. I was trying to look up just for reference how big the city of Atlanta was like across, and I couldn't find it, so I was looking at over here. Because I
I think
want to know
Atlanta
like,
is like 30 miles.
so it's like the same. Well, so it's bigger than that, but Atlanta is massive. It is a big city.
If we just
Um,
do it.
oh yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah, so if you just take that inside part, so it's within 20 miles, right?
So
Let's see how big this is compared to Atlanta. All right, so there's 285.
it depends on how you want to measure it.
I'll just go straight across. Like, fuck it. So it's 15 miles, but again, what we measured included that outside water.
Yeah, and also if you
Um,
measured, because like the top of Atlanta, like going down would be longer. Look like,
yeah, top down would be longer.
yeah.
How long is that?
Nice.
Okay, so it's between like 15 and 17 miles across. If we just do the inside of the Eye of the Sahara, and I've heard arguments that yeah, this looks like a crater.
Whoa.
I don't know if you've seen a crater, but it does not look like a crater. Also, there wouldn't be salt on it because that's just
That's not
water.
necessarily true because a crater could have happened a long time ago, and then water could have washed over the crater.
I hear you. So if it was like a crater, then water came over it, salt would sit on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense.
But it doesn't look like a crater. I mean, it looks like if if like three different craters hit and then made rings around each other, which is like hit the same spot.
Yeah, so the inside distance. So let's just do the inside distance. So that's just 12 miles.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty
13
solid city.
miles. A city that's a perfect circle. It's 13 miles across.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. It looks so cool. It just looks sweet. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you
yeah.
just look at. I mean, this thing. I've never seen this, and the fact of how big it is, and just what this looks like water sweeping over this. I mean, I don't know. It's insane, dude. So essentially, I mean, that was one of the big topics of the podcast that came up. We weren't able to show on video,
Yeah.
and this is kind of what it looks like. So I encourage people to just go look at it or just watch Jimmy Corsetti's YouTube videos. Bright Insight. I mean, dude, he crushes it. Goes into full detail. Shows the old maps that this city pops up in. They're like 12, 15 minutes long. He's way better than we are. Go look at that. Um,
We also covered some other things that was really cool. I can pull these up as well.
are you gonna pull up pictures of that meteor?
Well, I wasn't pull up pictures of the vases because
Okay.
that was like
Yeah. That's
here.
just it's just wild too.
Well, you know what? I won't pull up the vases, but I'll just talk about them. So they talked about these vases that they found. They found like 40,000 of these different vases, and we're not talking pottery. These vases are made out of granite, and like back then, you can't like to say that granite is malleable is it's not. I mean, you can obviously carve stuff out of it now with today's technology, but one of the things you can't do is carve it down to the inches of perfection that they had back then of like 40,000 different vases. So get this, like um
Shit's wild,
to
dude.
give you an idea, Ben said that ceramic pottery today we can get down to like tens of an inch, maybe a little bit more than that by hand. A human hair, like the vases that they had were like some of them were like a 13 thousandths of an inch to perfection. Example is like a human hair is 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch thick. These vases are within more accuracy of perfection than half the thickness of a human hair, and these were vases found in Egypt and ancient Egypt. So it's like, how in the world did they have the technology to do that? And by the way, their speculation is that there was an ancient civilization that we just that got blasted out from some huge hit that did have this type of technology and maybe went in a different path than we did. Like instead of like combustion engines and electricity, they went with more. I mean, one of the things they talk about is like sound resonance technology, where basically you could use like ultrasonics and sound resonance to move and like perfectly carve out things. I mean, they talked about things that don't like we wouldn't even know, like plasma molecular softening technology. It could be aliens. We don't know. Um
Well, the thing is, that would make sense. Like, imagine if you just, yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you could do it. I know how they make a vase now, and it's takes a long time, and it's with a machine, and it carves it away, and it's made with diamond tipped sauce. I mean, that's how hard granite is. I don't think people realize that. Like, granite is very hard. It's close to a diamond.
yeah, isn't it like
So
7 on the hard
I
scale?
think it's 7 or 8 on the hard scale. Diamonds are 10.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't carve that shit with rocks. You don't carve it with like it. Well, you can carve it with rocks. It would take an extremely long time. You can carve it with rocks, but you don't get
You
how
basically can
how
carve granite with
perfect.
another piece of granite.
Yeah, you can, but you
Barely.
don't get how perfect these vases end up coming out, and it's like the crazy thing because they talk about this a lot too is like what happens when you present this evidence to like people in academia and like people that they have like these traditional textbooks and like they have like museum tours and tourist tours on these things. It's like they just ignore it, or they when they say it, they're like, it's just nah. It's like what? You can't just ignore it.
Well, that's what's interesting is because when Ben Corsetti was talking, he was the first. That's the first time they're able to use that machine to scan one vase in
Yeah.
ever. And these
Yeah.
vases have been found, decades ago, and they've been sitting in museums untouched. And they're like, you can't touch this, you can't study it.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of work for them to be able to scan this vase to make a 3D image to then see how each side compares to the other, how smooth it is, and actually make those calls to be like, this was not handmade, right? This
Mm.
was made
We
some
it's
other way.
we have proven that it can't be handmade.
And he's looking at this as an engineer. And
Yeah.
that's, and again, granted, like, for example, there's a reason you can't damage a granite countertop, like it's harder than most metals.
Mhm.
Like if you cut with a knife on granite countertop, it's going to damage your knives. So
Yeah.
it's just so hard to
You
wrap
can
your
make
head
you
around.
could yeah, you can make like scratches in it, maybe. But like even then it's like
You don't scratch it.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
just a lot.
yeah, it's crazy. I think we should combine this one with like we should talk about the Randall Carlson Graham Hancock one because they talked about a lot of the same. They talked like about the pyramids as well. They're very different podcasts because they do talk about the pyramids and they talk about ancient technologies. But Graham Hancock talks about DMT for like 30 or 40 minutes in the podcast.
And he
Um,
has some interesting perspectives too. But yeah,
yeah. But the main thing I would say to talk about in the Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson one is well,
the
how
big
many
chew, right?
yeah, the big chew. It's like, well, the meteor, but like I would say as far as like the pyramids go, um,
Well, there's other
there,
pyramids. Like I think for you, I know that you thought it was crazy, and I was like, "There's a bigger pyramid in Mexico,
yeah,
the
yeah,
pyramid
like
of Giza," and you're like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude." I'm also another thing is I don't know if you watch Ancient Apocalypse yet,
I
but
haven't.
yeah, I have. I encourage everybody to watch it. That way you get what's going on. But essentially, to break it down, historians and I guess everybody in that field, they looked at these structures in a certain way, which is fine. And then Graham Hancock is like, well, hey, based on if you look at the rotation of the Earth and the stars, this structure lines up perfectly with this constellation in the sun at exactly 12,500 years ago.
Are you talking about Serpent Mound,
That's one
Ohio?
example. So it's like, well, that's an interesting perspective that I don't know has been brought up. Where you're like, well, wait, why? So then it kind of timestamps, hey, is that when they built this? Or are they giving us a message of when this happens, something happens? Brings up
Mm.
a lot of questions. But the fact that you're not allowed to look at it that way, that's another thing that Randall Carlson goes into straight detail with the pyramids, like the measurements and how it's made. Very weird. Um,
They also talked about some technology that's going to be released, like hopefully soon.
which was
Um,
sketchy. So that should be by now.
Yeah. So Randall said that he's been sitting on some groundbreaking technology for 7 years. And the technology, like one of the things, like right now, it's Mazda, the company, like spent a lot of money to get these prototypes off. And one of the devices is basically it recycles all waste products when it's like a retrofitted internal combustion engine. And so it gets rid of like heat products, carbon dioxide, other waste products. Nearly everything that comes out of the engine gets recycled. He said that the device that they had in the prototype stage took it from 30% energy efficiency to 80% energy efficiency. And again, that's just the prototypes, not like the final product. And like that's a crazy that'd be a game changer if we had a engine that could 100% recycle its own energy. You know what I mean? Like we're looking at completely new technology. Like it would be everything would change. Um, so that was also in there. They
Yeah,
talked about how we come into a meteor. Like you should talk about the big chew. We come into this meteor stream of meteors called the Torrid meteor like stream or swarm. We come in contact with it every June and every November.
it's
And
basically a
then
trail left
yeah,
over, and it's just pieces of rock floating around, and we rotate through it twice a year. And the big conclusion or draw from that is when we're crossing the stream, we're more likely to get hit by an asteroid or a meteor during these times of years from that meteor stream, right?
which is yeah, and that's by the way, that's what the younger dry is. So you should talk about that, and then we should talk about the big chew, like the conclusion of that.
Well, so you have the Younger Dryas impact theory, then you have the Younger Dryas period of time,
Yeah,
right? The impact theory ends the Younger Dryas period of time, 12,000, what, 500 years ago, something like that.
11,600 to 12,500 years ago is when
Yeah.
the evidence of these giant of a shit ton of huge meteor impacts hit Earth. There's a lot of evidence around the world, and that's what they talked about.
And
Um,
basically they're saying that most likely Randall Carlson, this is what he talks about all over the North American landscape is leftover damaged reservoirs from mass amounts of water coming from glaciers that ended that period of time. So an asteroid hits an ice sheet up in North America. That ice sheet melts, breaks down, damages all the land below it, and you can still see that today. So that's kind of like his whole perspective and expert on it, which is awesome. Um, and in the Younger Dryas period, that's also really sketchy because that's also what the last Iglotep what is it called?
Gobekli Tepe.
Gobekli Tepe. That's right when it got buried, hand buried. So whoever built it at that same time when asteroids hit the Earth, they hand buried a huge structure, Gobekli Tepe. Um, no, dude, just so much stuff which comes up, and then they're like, "Well, hey, just to tie it back, they're like, yeah, we don't get hit with asteroids. We don't have to worry about that." And Graham Hancock Randall, like, actually, it happened like right over 100 years ago in 1908 on June 30th. And this is
Yeah,
insane. Like, I
he
never
says
saw these
insane.
pictures. Less than 100 years, or a little bit over 100 years ago, a meteor hit Earth. But because
Um,
it's in the middle of nowhere, asteroid, meteor, whatever one it is,
yeah,
a rock from space hit
yeah.
Earth. And did you want to pull up these pictures?
I can pull them up. Yeah, if you want to read it, I'll pull it up while you're reading it.
Yeah. So 1908, the morning of June 30th, a meteor of 100 feet in diameter moving tens of thousands of miles per hour. So that's like faster than a bullet, like as fast as a bullet, faster than the speed of sound. The
Tens of
impact,
thousands of miles per hour is way faster than a bullet.
I think so.
Pretty, yeah. I'm almost,
Pretty
I'm
sure.
pretty certain it's way
I'm
faster.
not Bill Nye, but I do know a guy. The impact was
Nice.
so devastating that 80 million, I don't know, you just got rid of all of it. So it's cool.
Oh, you can't see it?
You shared your screen with me
Oh,
and deleted what I was reading. Well, you
oh,
should have shared your other screen. And then look it up,
there you go. You got it.
or not share your screen yet. Yeah. Well, now everyone can read it. So read that.
Well, just
Look at
say it.
this. All right. The impact was so devastating that 80 million trees were flattened in an instant across, guys, 800 square miles. New York
Yeah,
City is 300 square miles to give you guys a reference. So if that hit any major city, I mean, bro,
look at that.
it kind of looks like a fake picture. Is that a fake picture?
I don't know. I think
That
these
looks
tree pictures
real. These tree pictures look real. Like,
of it
that's insane, dude.
flattening. That's fake, most likely.
Nah, dude, there is a guy out there. You saw it.
Yeah, he just took it and he's like, I got a photo. He's taking a selfie back
But
in
these
1908.
trees, that tree damage, you can go like, Jesus.
Yeah. Flattened 40, 80 million trees flattened in an instant. 800 square miles flattened. New York City is 300 square miles. It's only because it happened in this ginormous forest in Siberia. That's
Yeah,
some,
just in the
that's
middle
some,
of nowhere.
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So again, the Younger Dryas would be like that meteor hitting Russia, but thousands and thousands of them all over the world over a period of 1,200 years.
Oof.
Or,
Crazy.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the expert. I don't know if it's thousands, thousands of, maybe it's more. The number, I don't know. There's a lot of meteors during this time. Shit happened, changed the world, blah blah blah.
That's what Randall said. He like picture that, but just thousands and thousands over like 1,200 years. Just just like hellfire on Earth. Just bam, bam, bam.
So, which brings into like the innovation. It's like the whole idea, which I always thought I still think is so dumb. It's like everyone's arguing about global climate and climate change and stuff, and it's a whole political thing. And I'm just like, dude, it's a huge distraction. It doesn't matter. You should put money into innovation with dealing with outside, I would say, threats. One of them being a meteor and asteroid, which they have, which it took till the past 10 years to do so, but
It does matter. Like obviously, if we never stop pollution, like we do affect Earth. It will. Let's just say that
we can argue
even
about
like
this.
yeah, even let's just say that it doesn't warm up, but all we just like our entire ocean is filled of plastic, and like and then things die out, and it's like all right, well, there's a huge source of like oxygen because the ocean provides more oxygen than trees do. Most people don't know that, like the algae in the ocean,
It's diatoms.
diatoms in the ocean. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like but that comes from algae. It also comes from kelp, right?
No,
Uh,
it's like 80%, 90% diatoms. It's like what the sand is, like their corpses. If you haven't seen it, it's called Planet Earth. I believe Will Smith is the voice of it. And it goes over the whole thing right in the beginning of diatoms and how much oxygen is produced
but what
by these little
produces
creatures.
diatoms?
Diatoms, it's basically, I think it's a bacteria or a fungus. They
How do
like
you spell
spark up with energy.
how do you spell diatome?
Bro, I failed spelling.
Yeah, so check it out.
Diatoms.
Check it out. I just looked up diatome. It's a member of a large group comprising several genera of algae. That's what I was saying. It's like diatome. So algae makes diatoms.
I think diatoms are algae. Like if they, it's like a
That's what I
category.
was. See, this is what you get. You guys getting a first hand take of what me and Zach talked about. We're basically saying the same shit. So he's saying diatoms, and I'm saying it's algae and kelp, but it comes from it comes from
I
the
guess because it's not kelp. Is a diatom a bacteria or a
yes.
fungus?
So it says any member of it says a diatom class Bacilla. Fuck, I can't say that. Any member of the algal class. I'm gonna try Bacilla Rio Fichae, with about 16,000 species found in sediments or attached to solid substances in all waters of Earth. Diatoms are among the most important prolific microscopic organisms, sea organisms, and serve directly or indirectly as food for many animals. Okay, so
They produce the world's oxygen. Okay, that's the important thing.
yeah,
Everyone thinks it's trees. That's cool, but the trees use their own oxygen.
yeah, they
So,
generate 20 to 50% of oxygen produced on the planet each year. Wow.
um, which is crazy. And you can
Yeah,
see it from space. So basically, there's like astronauts looking with like telescopes back on Earth, and you see these huge plumes of bright blue in the ocean, like spiking up, and those are diatoms, and it's really cool.
so that's what I'm
Um,
saying. So like if we continue to put plastic in the ocean, it will affect our oxygen. It will affect the planet. So I like it's not that that global warming or climate change is not an issue, but it's not one where it's like we're gonna die tomorrow or
but that's
even
how
in
they're
10.
acting, though.
I know. And I that part I'm like, okay, just like you don't like what Rogan says. Like you don't have to go, splash soup on a Van Gogh painting because what the fuck does that do? like, but I get it, and like because of propaganda, like yeah, make you of course if like you genuinely believed that like the Earth's about to die, yeah, I if I genuinely believed it, I'd also might go do some drastic shit. I don't know about splashing soup on a fucking Van Gogh because what the fuck
Well,
does
we're
that
talking about
accomplish?
it now, so it did something, made an
Yeah, I guess
impact.
it.
But the
Yeah,
thing is, what was the point of the person doing that was to talk about the climate, right?
yeah, they did that, and
Well,
they
we're
also
talking
like
about it.
yeah, well, their whole point was like we gotta fix it. So it's like okay, so you just wanted to alert us that there's climate change. Well,
Instead of fixing it.
but you knew that too. You knew that, and that's why you went splash soup on a Van Gogh. So like you're no like, what did you do? We already
We,
knew there was climate change.
yeah, we already know this, but the whole deal is like, okay, the amount of money you're putting towards climate change in retrospect to the amount of money that if you just put in innovation for like defense against something potentially more catastrophic like a meteor.
Yeah,
I mean, if something like that, like for example,
or
let's
just
say
R&D,
an
like he said, research and development. Put money into that,
yeah,
into
and
innovation.
it's have you heard how they would like deter a meteor from hitting Earth? Like the different ways to do it. It's pretty cool.
Isn't there
So
like one is like an explosion method, right?
So before the main guy that was going to take over Space Force, which is a whole other loophole for you guys to get into, is he was depromoted as soon as like the COVID thing came out, and then wrote a book about how the government sucks. And he's like a veteran. He was going to be running Space Force. He reached out to Randall Carlson to be top advisor for space defenses against like meteors. Um, One of them was you paint it so you can like shoot a rocket, and then that rocket explodes outside the meteor, and it paints metal all over the side of the meteor,
Whoa.
and that reflects heat from the sun, and it actually changes the course of it.
What?
Pretty
That's cool
pretty
as
nifty, right?
shit, dude.
So you
Wow, that's thinking
basically
outside the
paint
box.
it, and because of that reflection or whatever, you can all you got to do is just change its trajectory
Just a
just a little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like one that I thought was really cool.
Really cool. It is.
Yeah. I think they tested one sometime back. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but they actually like NASA did this. They like shot it just
Where?
to change its directory.
Oh,
Trajectory.
they actually hit like an asteroid? They like
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
NASA
Didn't know about that.
asteroid. Change course. Let's see if it pops up real quick. I did see it. Yeah, it was a DART mission impact change asteroid's motion. This was in 2022 on October 8th. October is, kind of that time when you're going through the Taurus meteor stream, right?
Actually, so it starts in November.
November.
It starts in late October. So basically, like Halloween, like ooh, spooky. We're going through like a. We're
This is
starting to go through.
October 18th,
Oh,
11th.
well, from what we were taught, what Randall said, it starts happening late October.
This was a kinetic impact with his target asteroid, successfully altered the asteroid's orbit. So it took till 2022 to do this. And that's, oh,
I'm
geez,
glad we can though.
a little bit. The biggest issue that Randall was saying is if it comes from the direction of the sun, we won't be able to see it.
Oh, so scary. So
But then again,
scary.
can't we just have like a telescope looking that direction all times?
And there's like alert us.
Or a satellite that like has a lens on it that like blocks out the sunlight to see, or maybe it scans in a different light instead of, because we can only
Yeah,
see in one spectral light. Maybe it like looks in an infrared or something. I don't
thermal.
know. Thermal looking straight at the sun.
Yeah. Main point of Bjorn's was innovation. Honestly, his whole thing was talking about like we don't need to freak out. He said he doesn't say that climate change is not an issue or that we shouldn't worry about it. He just says that like we got to be better as a people and like learn where to allocate our money like properly. Like, here's a really poor example. Germany spent $500 billion, 500 billion, not million, 500 billion, reducing their carbon emissions by 7%. It went from like I think 84% to 77%. Yeah, that's right. 500 billion. Think about, I was telling this and I said this in the podcast, but like think about what you could do with 100 billion for like the homeless population or like for, for poor people. Like what could you do with $100 billion? What could you do with 200, 300, 400, 500 billion? Like that's a really, really fucking stupid way to spend that money.
I should just build nuclear facilities.
Yeah. Right. So
I don't
that's
know,
a,
or something.
yeah. I mean, just or imagine if you invested 100 billion in R&D, research and development of like, hey, because we talked about this. Oh, this is such something super cool to mention. So they talked about this guy. Speaking of algae, they talk about this guy like in an innovation. Let me find it because I want to make sure I say it right. Let me put it in here. Okay, so there's this guy Craig Venture. Apparently, he cracked he cracked the human genome back in the year 2000, and he has this idea where you can grow specific algae on the ocean surface to basically soak up sunlight and CO2 to produce oil. The guy Bjorn Lomborg, who we covered, says like imagine growing your own Saudi Arabia just out in the ocean, and then we harvest and process those, keeping our entire fossil fuel usage covered, but it'd be CO2 neutral. So we get our oil and then don't have any CO2 emissions. That's or keep most of the CO2. Like
I
because
would even take that further. That what about the oceans that are under the moons of Jupiter and you put some shit like that out there? Obviously, you need the sunlight, so this wouldn't work. But what if you did it on a different planet or surface? Because then you would be damaging our own environment. Like, what about using other planetary systems to produce resources versus our own?
it's really, I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson said like, this is just one guy saying it, but he said like the reason we don't go to Mars yet, or like why we don't have like a station on the moon, which by the way they're looking to do, like they're looking to put shit up there, is
True.
because it's way, 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 way more expensive to go do that than it is to keep doing stuff here.
Here's another
Um,
perspective. I would go as far and say at some point it's going to be cheaper
yeah,
because of the amount of damages here. Like, for
yeah,
example, if that guy grows, it sounds like algae that creates oil, what would that do to like the ocean in that area? Because the whole surface would be blocking sunlight to create oil. So I'm
yeah,
assuming whatever lives there is going on there, whatever cities around there's you're gonna have to deal with. I don't know, but
yeah. Yeah, and also like what happens to all the eco life that the oil, around where that's created, like what like, but maybe you could contain it in like some type of dome or some shit. I don't know, but that's where innovation comes. It's like, all right, we have an answer to this CO2 problem. It's gonna maybe it's oil in the ocean. Now, how do we contain it and make the best of it? Um,
geez, dude.
what?
But it's just like so much cheaper to just innovate and like look into shit than like charge like put a tax on everyone whose emissions on their car. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
that's the stuff where I'm like, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. I get it, but for example, if that asteroid hit just another 100 years later, but it was actually a big city, don't you think that's like a bigger deal? Like, I don't know. That's
It's definitely a big deal. I mean, it's like pick and choose the battles you're gonna die for.
I say whatever saves the most lives, that's the
Yeah.
cheapest. And I don't think spending a bunch of money on this.
Well, we just spend money on things that are so fucking stupid, like war. Imagine if people weren't warring. If like we were like we all had a common
They
enemy.
weren't
Like
warring.
the common enemy was an asteroid. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
it
put
will
all
be,
your
but
bullshit aside, give us all the money. And it's like at that point, it's like, yeah, if we knew there was an asteroid so big and we had like, I don't know, let's call it we had like 3 months for the whole world to prepare to get that. I'm sure some countries would still be like, I'm gonna use this to take advantage of this other country and invade. It's like, all right, you fucking retard.
it's like that movie
Well,
Don't Look Up.
yeah, yeah, right. There's a bunch of people just posting fucking selfies with the asteroid coming, like up in the sky. But dude, that movie was so good. I enjoyed that movie a lot. And I feel like it was a real depiction of like what would happen, like how it would go down, which is
Well, but
so
that's the
scary.
irony of it. I think they made that movie to show what would happen so that you don't do that.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like, hey, don't
Absolutely.
do this. They're like worried about who's going to be the next president when the president's
Yeah.
only
They're
has their job for
politicizing it.
4 years. Like,
Yeah, they're politicizing it like, nah, asteroids not actually coming. That's all bullshit. And then the other guy's like, no, it's really coming. Like, and if you vote for me, like, I'll make sure we get it
oh,
protected.
bomb
And then
it.
it ends up both sides bullshit, and it ends up actually being about money. And the reason we all die is because the guy was like, you know what, we could blow it up and then not die, or I can send these little robots out there to mine it, and we can get back trillions and trillions of fucking. And the robots don't work, and they all end up dying.
Yeah, so we should get bomb shelters.
I bomb shelters, sure. I think like I said, research and development. Just like have so much innovation. Like okay, the $100 billion that Biden sent over to Ukraine for help. First of all, I mean that's a whole different opinion. Don't even think we should be involved in the war. But that $100 billion, like, could be used for, I don't know, stopping our like putting a huge dent into our homeless population in America, our poor.
To 85,000 missing children in the US.
Yeah.
Just want to point that out.
To what?
Yeah,
85 what?
I think it's 85,000 right now
What?
missing children in the US.
Mm. Yeah, just I don't know, just like more useful stuff.
Did you
But
see that Elon Musk was like requested the Epstein list, client list?
oh, good, dude,
Bro,
good.
dude, this is what I'm saying. This is what we need.
I remember dude, liberals don't like Elon Musk. Did you know that?
Well, it's because he publicly stated, I think 2 years ago, he's like, yeah, I'm definitely Republican now after
All the bullshit I read from
the
like
liberal side, like, yeah, they tried to hack him, tried to change all of his stats, like they went after him, and he called out the government at that time for doing it. He was like, dude, why?
yeah, like, well, also like all the Twitter files and the Veritas, like,
Jesus.
you know,
So 2,300 children go missing every day in the U.S.
2,300. Yeah, it's a lot of sex trafficking. Yeah, Project Veritas. Like, of course, you're gonna find all the stuff, and you find out like, oh, like there was deliberate actions taken to shadow ban people that were like trying to put out information that was uh uh adverse to COVID, or like speaking negatively about vaccines. Or and then so it's like, yeah, of course you're not gonna like Elon Musk because he takes it over and he's like, fuck all that bullshit.
I mean, being able to throw money at something that's important, which I guess is free speech. That's a good way to spend it, though.
Hell
But the
yeah.
thing is, the way he thinks is like from humanity. He's like, wait a minute. So you guys are arguing about the stuff on Earth. Okay, we're gonna run out of resources. I don't know when it'll happen. You can't argue that. We need to figure out how to be multi-planetary. So that's what he starts working on. And then he's like,
Mars.
wait a minute, you guys aren't allowing everyone to, I guess, share ideas. That'll be bad. So he just buys
Yeah.
it and fixes it. Like he's thinking in terms of thousands of years ahead
Yeah.
versus like the next decade. Like
And he
it's
knows about the depopulation too. And this is so funny. It's why he has 10 children. Like the dude's like actually doing his part. He's like, we gotta populate this fucker up, and he just
Yeah, it's
spurts
pretty
out 10
funny.
kids. He's like,
It's pretty
you know,
funny. I
but he
wonder
really
how he
does.
does it. Is he like just
Bro,
walk
what
up to
if
a lady
he's
and is like, "Yeah, man, I just need to make more kids because we're gonna run out. Do you want one?" Like,
what if he's like, because Rogan's mentioned this, what if he's legitimately an alien? And he's like, because you could arguably say that
could
might be
be.
the most important guy in he
Well,
might be the most important guy in human, like in human, so humans can keep on going on because he's making sure we're going to go to Mars. Like he's in charge of like free speech, as far as like one of the biggest social media platforms. He's got SpaceX, he's got Neuralink, which is helping with neurodegenerative disorders and also gonna like help us communicate better. It's a little bit freaky. There's some other weird shit that's gonna happen with that. He's got the burrowing company, so we can travel and like, I mean, probably you could use burrowing company so we could hide from asteroids in case it happens, you know?
you could hire them to make you an underground city.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
smart
like,
there, Elon Musk.
so
Pretty
he's got
smart.
that. He's got what else? Twitter, we already said. I think I'm missing obviously Tesla. You know, I haven't mentioned that. He's got Tesla.
But that's the
Like
whole idea. But I just okay, we have a guy who's a massive reader and he's very smart. So it's like a compilation of all human issues, and he just looks at it. It's like, all right, we should probably solve it, and just start solving it.
it's just crazy. Like the dude, it's like if there's anyone on this earth that's an alien, it's that motherfucker. And he's just like, I'm helping you guys
Have
out.
you heard him comment on aliens? He's like, well, if they are there, they're fucking avoiding us because we don't see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meanwhile, like last week, we just released, yeah, and I like looking at this stuff, but they just released the that triangle video. Uh, so this past week, it was back in 2020. They had the UFOs, whatever you want to call them, sitting over military bases, and this one was viewed by over 50 people, all with cell phones, all with everything, and they just released that this past week
50
to look at.
what? Would you say 50 people?
50 plus people, witnesses. This was hovering over a military base.
50
Um,
people
yeah, dude, we can pull it up. It's pretty sick.
witness what? Alien?
On our notes for this, where are my notes? Oh, they're in front of us.
Where this was last week, you said?
So search the silent triangle of 29 palms.
That sounds so intense. The silent triangle of 29 palms. Dum dum dum.
I already got it pulled up. But yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, I want to see it. I haven't seen this.
Are you searching? You want me to share my screen?
Share your screen. We should end it on this. We'll end it on this.
Are you seeing the right screen? All right, so
The silent triangle of 29 palms. Dum dum dum.
what images pop up? Nope.
Probably weaponized. I had
Well, the
mine
thing is,
pulled up.
this was their episode that they did, but and then they showed videos of it when they were talking because he like okay, basically, Jeremy Corbell got the most videos sent to him, and he was the one that confirmed over 50 people saw it because that's he got to them and talked to them about it. And he released like I watched this weaponized episode. He went over like 4 different sides and views and angles of it and kind of like debriefs it. But I was looking for just like a picture, you know.
I
Um,
think I have it. I have it pulled up. Here, I'm gonna share my screen.
so the cool thing is now they had like better pictures from phones because they can kind of like get a better light.
All right,
Light
so
filter, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
let's see.
Yeah, that's like one of them. So you can actually see the shape. It's kind of like a weird looking
21, there's
triangle.
another image right there. He says, according to reports from witnesses, the whole thing only lasted about 10 minutes, from 8:20 when it appeared to 8:30 when it
Well,
blinked.
Let's see some
black triangular shape. Why are these not flares? Because they stayed there for a solid 10 minutes, just in the same spot. And flares don't sit in one spot.
They shot up lumen flares, so you can see the difference of what a lumen flare is. And most flares, they last within 1 minute to 3 minutes max. This object, or I'll say craft, because you can see the body of it, sat there from 10, some reports say up to 25
right at the end, there are a couple of seconds.
That looks like a drone.
Showing something that's in.
That's a
It's
helicopter.
kind of in a similar shape to that triangle. Do you think that that could be the same thing? Some of this exercise that you're seeing right here, those.
Oh yeah, that was a helicopter.
A triangle
Well, the problem is it was silent.
Now of the training for UAPs to be reported.
event was during
Document.
All right.
Yeah, people can look into it, but here's the issue. It was silent. The whole military base was like, what is going on? Nobody knew. They recorded it. And this is just one example of what the 100+ reportings of military bases being buzzed by UFOs.
Oh, I would
It's just
love.
weird, man.
I mean, I'd be very freaked out, but I'd really like it if in our time we got to like, confirm aliens. You know what I mean? Just like they've come down. I mean, if we all got massacred, that wouldn't be so cool. But
I think
like,
everyone wants it to be true, and I'm just saying, like, something fishy is going on. Have you watched First Contact yet?
No, I'm going to though.
Yeah. I would watch that. I'm curious what your thoughts are after you see that, along with Ancient Apocalypse.
I'm gonna watch Ancient Apocalypse, First Contact, and I think there was something else, but I'm gonna watch those. All right. I think with some energy, what do you say we leave this one for leave it on that?
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
See you.